Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. Bring in part 12 of What If Jackie Chan was in W.I.T.C.H. Link in the description of the fanfiction of this What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. Return of the Queen. So, why am I going to the mountains again? Elion asked as she and Phobos were near the gate of the castle, ready to head out via what appeared to be a horse-drawn carriage. Along with them, there was also Miranda, Daolon Wang, and Cedric in his human form, with a group of guards. As safety precautions, Phobos explained to his sister. We have a special bunker up there if in the event the castle is breached. You need to go there and see if it's still effective. You're not coming? Elion asked. I have an important matter I must attend to here. Phobos replied. But don't worry, Miranda will keep you company. And just in case any adversaries attempt to abduct you, Your Majesty, I shall assign you special guards to watch over you. Daolon Wang said as he drew his scepter. Gone. Ren. Kui. With that chant, Daolon Wang had summoned the Dark Kai enforcers, causing Elion to look in surprise at their sudden appearance. Whoa. Do not fret, Princess Elion. These men are your guards. Cedric assured. Finn, Ratso, and Chow had found themselves meeting Elion for the first time. Hey, so you're Phobos' kid sister, E.H. Chow asked. Ah, she's cute. Ratso gushed. Hi. Elion smiled and waved at the trio. Nice to meet you. Same. Name's Finn. He's Ratso, that's Chow. Finn introduced himself and his friends to the princess. You three will watch over my sister from this point forward. Phobos told them. Should anything happen, I'm sure you're aware of the consequences. He narrowed his eyes at the enforcers, causing them to gulp slightly. Yeah, no worries at all, Big P. Finn chuckled nervously. Don't worry Phobos, I'm sure we'll get along just fine. Elion told her brother. So, please tone down the overprotective big brother attitude. It's sweet, but I can only handle so much coddling. Of course, forgive me dear sister. Phobos gave a slight apologetic bow. Elion, we should get going. Miranda told her friend. Alright, see you guys later. Elion waved her brother and everyone else goodbye as she, Miranda, and the Dark Kai enforcers entered the closed carriage as it left the castle. Once they were gone, Tarakudo suddenly appeared from the wall and floated above the Dark Prince. She seems like a sweet kid. Pity you feel she doesn't truly belong to the forces of darkness. I can sense great power from her. Power that she doesn't yet understand its true significance. Phobos commented. My prince, if I may, this is quite the risk we are taking. Daolon Wang said. My spell should keep the girl from being spotted, but the risk of Elion being spotted and taken by the rebels is high now. Perhaps, but I can't have Elion here when our new ally arrives. Phobos replied. A new ally? Cedric voiced in surprise as he and Wang did not expect this. Who? Tarakudo chuckled. Someone who can help tip the scales of this war in our favor. All we need do is wait, for the queen has returned. His eyes began to glow a bright blue as the symbol of the Shotokan was barely seen in his pupils. Earth. The mark of the Shotokan, still on the shoulder of Jade Chan, could not be seen over her current attire, which consisted of a black short-sleeved jacket, over a dark gray long-sleeved shirt. She also wore black pants that stretched down their ankles and black shoes. Jade had already walked downstairs from her room to the shop as Jackie, Uncle, and Toru worked in the back. Heading to school, see you guys later. Jade called to her family. Be careful, Jade. Jackie told his niece, but when he looked out to see Jade's current attire, he looked in surprise. Jade, why are you wearing black? Jade shrugged. It just felt right for today. What, there a problem with it? Jackie noticed there was a bit of irritation in Jade's voice near the end of her question, but he didn't appear to pay it much mind. No, never mind. Have a good day. Jade gave no response as she left out the front door. Uncle and Toru both stepped out into the shop as they heard the whole thing. Someone is in bad mood. Uncle stated. Maybe she had trouble sleeping last night. Toru assumed. I mean, we did have to deal with an army of trance marchers last night. Perhaps. Jackie replied. But, this feels rather familiar, and not the good kind. Sheffield Institute, early afternoon. The first half of the day at school went on like normal, Up until Jade met up with Will, Irma, Cornelia, Haylin, Terani, and Alchemy in the courtyard for lunch. Though most of them noticed the difference in Jade's attire. "Hey Jade, what's with the new outfit?" Terani asked. "Never really seen you in black before." "Yeah, black is not in season," Cornelia said. Jade rolled her eyes at the blonde. "Right, like I'm gonna take fashion sense from Little Miss. I'm too afraid to use my powers because I'll chip a nail." "Ouch." Irma snickered as Cornelia sulked. "Well, I think you look cool, Jade," Haylin told her. "Black really suits you." "Totally, you almost look like a ninja." Alchemy approved as well. "Thank you. At least some of you have good taste." Jade smirked triumphantly as she bit into her sandwich. However, Will looked with curiosity and caution at her friend. She couldn't quite explain it, but ever since she met up with her at their first class of the day, something felt off with Jade. Call it instinct, but she couldn't stop shaking this feeling, and even the way she had just spoken to Cornelia seemed to have sounded an alarm in her brain. They might not have gotten along most of the time, but this didn't quite feel the same. Will's thoughts, and everyone else's lunch, was suddenly interrupted by a high-pitched yell as the 7 girls turned to the side in shock to see Uriah and his gang surrounding Martin as Kurt gave the nerd a wedgie. "Atomic wedgie," Kurt exclaimed as he shook Martin by his underwear, causing his money to spill, which Clubber and Uriah were quick to get. "Fiends. The principal will hear of this," Martin stated, only for Kurt to pull on his underwear even more. "Got the cash. Let's go," Uriah stated as Kurt dropped Martin and they ran off with his money. Martin attempted to pick himself up, but Irma and Haylin were already there to get him on his feet. "You okay, Martin?" Haylin asked with concern. "Yeah." Once he laid his eyes on Irma, he tried to boost a confident smile. "It'll take a lot more than a wedgie to get old Martin down." Irma rolled her eyes. "Yeah, he's fine. Now, if you'll excuse me ladies, I got to get changed, for no other particular reason," he said confidentially, as he walked away. "A wedgie? Really?" Will asked in annoyance as the girls looked in the direction Uriah and his gang ran off toward. "And they took his money too," Terani commented in the same disapproving tone. "What are they, 5? Can't believe Nigel used to hang out with those guys." Jade actually gave a small growl as her hair slowly began to wave, despite there being no breeze in the air. "You know, I wish somebody would give those guys a taste of their own medicine." As she said that, however, nobody, not even Jade, noticed the mark of Tarakudo glowing underneath her clothes. Meanwhile, Uriah, Kurt, and Clubber hid in the bushes around the corner, counting up the money they took. "Looks like we got about $10, Clubber said. "Yeah, enough to buy a whole pizza," Kurt smirked. Uriah smirked as well, like taking candy from a baby. However, the 3 looked in surprise and concern as the shadows in the area began to move on their own and surround the trio of bullies before they looked in genuine shock to see a trio of Shotokan emerge from the ground to glare at the frightened bullies. A trio of screams got all the girls' attention. "What was that?" Haylin exclaimed. "It came from around the corner. Come on. We'll lead her friends to the source of the scream," and they didn't have to run far to see where it came from. However, all 7 girls looked more than a little perplexed once they saw what was unfolding before their eyes. The Shotokan were here, and they appeared to be giving Uriah and each of his friends a wedgie, 1 Shotokan per bully. They each pulled the bullies' underwear up so high that it looked like they might tear, and even Uriah was on the verge of tears. "What am I looking at right now?" Alchemy pretty much voiced everyone's thoughts before Will was the first to get serious as she prepared to pull out the heart of Kandrakar, however. "Hey, back off ninjas," Jade called to them. Right as she said that, the Shotokan immediately stopped, let go of the bullies, and disappeared into the shadows, much to the girls' confusion. "Ghost ninjas! Ghost ninjas!" Kurt exclaimed. "The school is haunted," Clubber also screamed. "Run for it, guys!" Uriah cried as he and his gang ran away, their outstretched underwear hanging from the back of their pants till they were out of sight. Almost nobody could believe what they had just seen. Did the Shotokan just show up to give Uriah and his pals some wedgies?" Irma asked. "Right after they gave Martin a wedgie," Terani said. "And they just left after." Haylin glanced at Jade but gave a small gasp upon seeing Jade's skin change color. Jade, are you okay? You're looking kinda blue." "What? I'm not sad or anything. Jade replied, not noticing that her skin had turned into a pale blue color, with her eyes starting to turn red as well. No, as your skin is literally turning blue. Cornelia stated as she pulled out a makeup mirror from her pocket and showed Jade her own reflection. Once Jade saw her own image, she gave a fearful gasp as she saw her hands were the same color as well. A look of dread formed on her face as she knew what this meant. Oh no, without another word, Jade ran toward the building. Jade, wait up. Will was the first to run after her, followed by everyone else. By the time the girls all reached the bathroom, Jade had already taken off her jacket and shirt, to look all over the upper area of her body. Where is it? Where is it? She exclaimed as she looked all over herself in a panic. She even pulled up her pants to look at her legs. Jade, what is going on? Tarani questioned as all the other girls entered the restroom. What are you even looking for? Haylin happened to glance at the mirror that Jade was closest to as she had her back turned toward it, that let Haylin see something that caught her attention. Wait, Jade stopped moving. Haylin grabbed her by the shoulders, causing her to stop her fidgeting. She then turned Jade around to face the mirror as the other girls each looked in shock and surprise to see a certain mark on her back. You guys wouldn't have happened to spot a tattoo that looks like Tarakudo's face, would you? Jade stuttered as a sinking feeling of terror began to fill her whole body. Yeah, we see it. Irma winced as the other girls exchanged concerning looks. Hey Lin, call your grandma. Will told her. Already on it. Hey Lin had already pulled out her cell phone. Uncle's rare finds. Yan Lin had arrived at the Chan family's shop with Caleb, much to the surprise of Jackie, Toru, and Uncle. Miss Lin, Caleb, what are you doing here? Jackie asked. Got a call from the girls. Yan Lin answered. Some sort of emergency, they're already on their way. But, school hasn't even gotten out yet. Jackie stated. Yell at us about that later. Irma stated as she, and all the other girls suddenly arrived, with Will and Haylin helping Jade inside as she was hunched over, holding her stomach and head. Something's seriously wrong with Jade. That got everyone's attention. Jade. Jackie was already at his niece's side as she was on her knees, while holding her head as it appeared, she was having a splitting headache, emphasized by her pained groans. What's going on with her? Caleb questioned. Well, first her skin turned blue, then a bunch of Shotokan showed up, now she has a Tarakudo tattoo on her back. Cornelia tried to list, but that last remark really got everyone's attention. Did you just say she has a mark resembling Tarakudo on her? Toru asked with fear and concern. Yeah, right here. Will pulled down on Jade's shirt to reveal the mark, which caused Yan Lin and Caleb to look in surprise, while Jackie and Toru both gasped. Aiya! Uncle exclaimed with widened eyes of dread. The symbol of the Shotokan. What in the world is something like that doing on her? Caleb questioned. Girls, you said you saw the Shotokan. Jackie questioned with a serious expression. Yeah, Tarani explained. Uriah and his gangs were giving Martin a wedgie, then the Shotokan showed up to do the same to them. Did Jade say anything before that happened? Jackie questioned once more. She said she wished those guys got a taste of their own medicine. Cornelia's eyes widened as she and the rest of her friends came to the same conclusion. Wait, did Jade send the Shotokan to do that? Alchemy exclaimed. Jade, look at me. Jackie tried to get his niece to look at him, which she did as her face was already turning a darker blue than before, her eyes becoming an even brighter red, and a pleading expression on her face. Uncle Jackie, I can hear him, it's like he's in my brain. Jade held her head painfully. It's okay, Jade, we'll fix this, Will said as she and Haylin kneeled down to try and give what comfort they could. Uncle, we need the tattoo removal spell, now. Jackie told his uncle. Right away. Uncle nodded. Toru, Yan Lin, come with me. Uncle got his apprentice and former love interest to come with him as they were about to head in the back, but suddenly a pair of Shotokan appeared to block their path, much to their surprise. More shadows suddenly began to move around the floor and walls of the shop, much to everyone's shock as the Shotokan began to emerge from the shadows, and not just the typical humanoid ninjas, but even a few Razor Khan were among them as they dropped from the ceiling to brandish their claws. Jade, Haylin tried to reach out and hold her, only for Jade's hand to suddenly reach out and grab her by the wrist, while the other hand did the same for Will. Do not touch me. Jade exclaimed, her voice becoming deeper, borderline demonic as she threw both Will and Lin with such strength. They were sent crashing into the wall as everyone looked to Jade in shock and even a bit of fear. "Jade, what are you doing?" Cornelia exclaimed. However, she and everyone else gave a gasp once they saw her face. It was a very dark blue, her eyes were completely blood red, and even her hair waved with a whirlwind as her entire body began to hover in the air. "Who is Jade?" She smirked evilly to show off her newly formed fangs. "Dread and fear, mortals. For the Queen of the Shotokan, reigns again." Once that was said, all the summoned Shotokan, and even the Razor Khan, bowed to their queen. "Did she just say, Queen of the Shotokan?" Caleb exclaimed. "Jade, stop," Jackie told her. "This isn't you. You have to fight." Suddenly a pair of Razor Khan stood up to block their path as they, and the other summoned Shotokan prepared to fight the heroes, even the recovering Will and Lin. "No," Jade ordered her minions as she descended to the ground. "They are not worth the effort. We have other business to attend to." With that command, the Shotokan regrouped around Jade as they walked into a patch of shadows on the wall. "Jade, wait." Will tried to run and stop them, but it was too late. The Shotokan, and their friend, had all vanished, leaving not even a trace left. "What the heck just happened?" Irma exclaimed. "Uncle Jackie." Lin turned to the man for some kind of explanation as he gave a worried sigh. "It's a long story. Meridian, Phobos Castle." Cedric and Wong both walked through the halls of the castle, which had a series of guards lined across the walls. "Phobos appears to be getting rather close with Tarakudo," Cedric commented. "Maybe that demon seeks to take our place as the prince's right hand." "Unlikely," Daolan Wong stated. "He is the king of the Shotokan, so it is unlikely he would settle with simply being an assistant." However, he was interrupted by the sudden appearance of the transformed Jade, who had suddenly appeared in front of the pair. "You," Cedric hissed, recognizing the girl as he transformed into his massive snake-like form with a roar. "Friend to the Guardians, you made a grave mistake coming here." The guards immediately surrounded Jade, who didn't appear the least bit intimidated as a ring of Ninja Khan and Razor Khan appeared around her to defend her as they went on the attack. The Razor Khan easily sliced through the weapons of the guards while the Ninja Khan dealt devastating physical strikes to knock each guard down to the ground. The Shotokan, Wong looked in shock, along with Cedric. "But she does not wear a mask. Why are they serving her?" "Lord Cedric." Daolan Wong. Jade addressed the pair. "If I recall correctly, you two have been trying to kill me and my friends since we first met. Perhaps it's time I try to return to favor." Jade snapped her fingers, causing the two tribes of Shotokan under her command to leap and surround the pair, brandishing claws or fists, or even katanas and shuriken as the dark wizard and shapeshifter looked more than a little nervous. "As entertaining as that would be, I'm afraid I must insist otherwise," Phobos said as he entered the other end of the hallway with a casual, yet sinister, smile. "You," Jade exclaimed upon seeing him, resulting in a group of ninja and Razor Khan suddenly appearing around Phobos, though unlike his servants, he didn't seem the least bit intimidated. "My dear, there is no need to be so hostile," Phobos told her, trying to sound sincere. "You threw me into a pit to rot when we first met and tried to kill me. Give me a reason why you shouldn't suffer a similar fate." Jade questioned, her red eyes burning with hate. "Because we need him." She looked toward a stained glass window to see the image of a man's face move before Tarakudo emerged from it to greet the transformed girl. "Ah, the queen has arrived. Finally coming to your senses?" he asked with an evil smile. Now it was Jade's turn to smile. "Yes. Sorry it took so long. Earth. Uncle's rare finds. Okay, let me get this straight." Cornelia began. Jade wanted to get a tattoo, so she drew the symbol of the Shotokan on herself, which also gave her the power to control the Shotokan, and it turned her evil. "Yes, that is a basic summation of it," Jackie confirmed. "Why the heck would she draw an evil symbol on herself anyway?" Terani exclaimed. She did not know at the time. Toru said as he, Yan Lin, and Uncle worked on preparing a certain spell. She only saw something that she thought was gnarly, and tried to pass it off as a real tattoo for everyone else at her old school. She does know there's such a thing as temp tats, right? Irma pointed out. Everyone else chose to ignore that as they continued to talk about how to handle this. "But, you can turn her back, right?" Hey Lin asked in a hopeful tone. Yes, Uncle can prepare tattoo removal spell. Uncle said as he continued to work. Spell almost finished. But, how did Jade even get that mark on her in the first place? Caleb asked. Will's eyes suddenly widened as she remembered their battle against the trance marchers the previous day. That fight last night, Tarakudo showed up and he grabbed Jade for a second. That must have been when it happened. But where did she even go? Alchemy asked. Best guess, the queen is going to meet her king. Cornelia assumed. Tarakudo. Jackie said in a grave tone. So, they're going to Meridian. Will said as she pulled out the map and shined the heart of Kandrakar over it, only to see nothing. There's no portal. But how could she get to Meridian without a portal? Terani asked. The Shadow Realm. Uncle answered. It is the place of origin of the Shotokan and the Oni, a realm of darkness that exists separate from our own. And since Tarakudo is allied with Phobos, it stands to reason that they are using the Shadow Realm as a stop point to bypass the veil. Yan Lin assumed. Can't we do the same thing? Use the Shadow Realm to get to Meridian? Irma asked. Not a good idea, Toru replied. In order to access the Shadow Realm, we'd each need to mark ourselves with the same symbol Jade is wearing. And if we did that, we'd be corrupted the same way she was. So, a portal is our only option. Jackie said as Will continued to look for a portal but found nothing yet. What I don't get is why Jade could summon two types of Shotokan, even those Razor Khan guys, Alchemy stated. I thought you needed an Oni mask to summon a tribe of them, and you can only wear one mask at a time. Shendu was able to summon the Shotokan without wearing a mask. Uncle explained. And Daolan Wang soon after his defeat. More than likely, Tarakudo has supplied Jade with a similar ability that enables her to summon more than one tribe. So, shouldn't she be able to summon the other Shotokan tribes, too? Hey Lin asked. Best guess, once the first two Oni masks were revealed and worn for the first time in centuries, the spells that were used to contain the original Oni were weakened. Yan Lin assumed. Tarakudo has likely found a way to use that to his advantage, and subsequently, Jade. Even if we're able to get to Meridian, how are we supposed to free Jade? Caleb questioned. I mean, sure we got that spell thing or whatever being made, but I'm willing to bet my new sword that Phobos and Tarakudo are going to keep us from getting to her. Caleb, you are not saying we should give up on her, are you? Will exclaimed, sounding offended as everyone else gave Caleb a similar expression. No, that's not what I'm saying. Caleb quickly corrected himself. What I am saying is that's going to be hard to get to her. I don't care, I already lost one friend to those bastards, there's no way I'm losing another. Cornelia stated. She might not be a guardian, but Jade is one of us. Terani also stated. I don't care if I have to flood that whole damn castle to get her back. Irma also voiced her conviction. She even stopped the Shotokan from attacking us when she left. Hey Lin said. That means the Jade we know is still in there somewhere. That's right. She's our friend, and we'll get her back even if we have to fight all of Meridian to do it. Will said with a firm resolve. Jackie couldn't help but smile proudly at all five of these girls. Though he knew how loyal they all were to Jade, as well as each other, hearing that they would do the equivalent of jumping into hell for those they care for was nothing short of heartwarming to them, and Jackie felt exactly the same way. Yes, we all will. Jackie nodded. Caleb gave something of a small sigh with a smile of his own. Alright, I'm in too. Count me in. Alchemy raised her hand. I might not have any magic, but there's no way I'm sighting this one out. Alright, the potion is ready. Yan Lin said as she held a tray containing 12 vials of a light purple liquid. Each one of us is taking a potion. All of us? Terani asked. Very important rule of magic. Always make extra, just in case. Uncle pointed out. Grandma, you said, each of us, does that mean you're coming too? Hey Lin asked. Of course, I am. Yan Lin confirmed with a nod. Nobody messes with my granddaughter's friend and gets away with it. Jackie saw that nothing was going to change anyone's minds. They were all going to rescue Jade even if it was the last thing they'd do. Alright, the second we find a portal, we'll go to section 13 and get the talismans. Well then we better get going. Will said with a smirk as a bright X began to glow on the map. Cause we just got a portal. Meridian, Phobos Castle. Phobos walked alongside Cedric and Daolan Wang, with Tarakudo hovering above them, toward the throne room. So, this was your plan. Turn one of the Guardians, allies into their enemy? Cedric asked. Indeed. Phobos confirmed. Losing Elion may have dealt them a blow, but they are still willing to fight. With a close friend of theirs however, one who has fought the forces of darkness with them, it'll be all the more shattering for Mr. Chan and those young Guardians. Tarakudo smirked. I fear you may be underestimating them, Tarakudo. Daolan Wang said. They will more than likely come to rescue this so-called queen. Oh, that's exactly what I'm counting on. The Lord of all Oni snickered. Phobos shared a smirk as well as this, Queen of the Shotokan, served as not only an ally, but both the best bait for his enemies, and even the one who will spring the trap they've prepared. Once they entered the throne room however, Phobos looked in surprise to see who was currently sitting on his throne. Jade, who is now clad in her attire as the Shotokan queen, consisting of a black dress with a dark purple top with dramatic spikes coming from the back. She sat on the throne of Phobos as a group of Shotokan treated her to a bowl of cookies and one even painted her toenails black. What do you think you're doing? Phobos questioned as he stepped forward. Treating myself. What does it look like? Jade answered as if it were obvious. Yes, but you are doing so on my throne. Phobos remarked with narrowed eyes. Jade gave her titular scoff. Please, you're a prince. I'm a queen. By definition, I outrank you. So, maybe you should get on your knees and I might overlook your tone, anti-Prince Charming. Phobos practically snarled at that. While he was open to the idea of having allies, he did not tolerate any kind of disrespect. Clearly you've forgotten whose domain this is. Maybe I should remind you. However, before he could make any sort of moves, a group of 4 Razor Khan dropped from the ceiling to surround Phobos and show off their claws. Oh, by all means, remind me. Jade challenged. If you dare. Phobos seemed more than ready to fight, but the hostility was brought to a halt by Tarakudo who hovered in between them. Now, children, we're all on the same side here. He then glanced towards Jade. Your Highness, I understand why you must feel to assert yourself given how our new allies were once your enemies, but we must all be respectful to one another. Otherwise, our mutual foes will find a way to take advantage of our differences and use it against them. So, would it hurt to play nice a little? Jade began to think. I'll consider it. That's good to hear, Tarakudo said as he cast a glance toward Phobos, hoping for a reply. Very well. Even Phobos seemed to agree as he backed down. But that is my throne, and I would suggest you seek permission the next time you use it. Yeah, whatever. Jade brushed off, much to Phobos' annoyance as his eyebrow twitched. Meanwhile, outside the castle, Blanc had led the group consisting of Jackie, Will, Uncle, Irma, Toru, Heilin, Yanlin, Terani, Caleb, Cornelia and Alchemy up a hillside. Once they reached the top, they stuck closer to the ground as they saw the castle in view. Target in sight. Will narrowed her eyes at the castle. Alright, so how do we get in? Alchemy asked. Blanc know many ways. Blanc said. Many ways to sneak in and find shiny stuff. Any ways that allow us to sneak in? Caleb asked, somewhat skeptically. Blanc looked a bit nervous. Humans too big. Big man way too big. Toru gave a slight glare in the passling in response. But, good kind big. Blanc not saying big is bad thing. What about Elion? Cornelia asked. I mean, I know we're here for Jade, but maybe we can do both. Elion not important. Uncle quickly stated. What Jin is trying to say is, Elion's rescue is not as urgent as Jade's. Yanlin tried to explain in a more sincere tone. Phobos is waiting for Elion's power to grow and reach its peak before he takes her power, so he will be keeping her safe for the time being. Cornelia knew they had a point, but that didn't stop her, as well as Alchemy, from expressing clear disappointment. I'm sorry Cornelia. Jackie told her. We'll rescue Elion, I promise. But right now, Jade needs our help more. Alright. Cornelia reluctantly accepted, but while she was disappointed, they couldn't get Elion today, she would not be holding back in their rescue of Jade. So, what's the plan? How do we get in if this place is probably crawling with ninjas by now? Heilin asked. Sneaking in will prove to be difficult. Toru responded. Jade might be reckless at times, but she's not stupid. Using stealth and sneaking is what let us free her from the Shotokan's control the first time, she'll likely see it coming this time around. Yeah, and with guys like Phobos, Tarakudo, Wong, and Cedric, they're probably expecting us. Terani said. So, why don't we just go in magic blazing? Irma suggested. Just guardian up, drop in on the throne room and blast our way in. That's actually a pretty good idea. Terani said. With all the times we tried to sneak in, a direct assault will be the last thing any of them expect. The entire group looked amongst each other and saw that was good idea. A direct assault did keep many of their options open, and taking the enemy by surprise could give them a chance to get to Jade with the potion. Alright, does everyone have a potion? Jackie asked as everybody, including Blanc, but excluding Will, had their own vial of the potion, which they all shown to him before putting it away. With nothing else needing to be said, Will took out the heart of Kandrakar and said the magic words. Guardians unite. Back inside the castle, Jade, Phobos, Tarakudo, Cedric, and Daolan Wong had gathered together as they appeared to be discussing some form of strategy. Now that it seems we have two tribes of Shotokan currently under our control, it should be easier to sniff out the rebellion. Cedric stated. Why do you need to sniff it out? I can tell you where it is. Jade smirked. I've been in their base before. Oh, is that so? Phobos smirked. It appears you've already proven your worth. But, I want something in return. Jade quickly said, causing Phobos' smile to vanish. And what exactly is it that you desire, my dear? Tarakudo asked. I want their base as my own palace. Jade answered. I might be willing to work with you, but I'm not one to share, least of all with the same people who have tried to kill me in the past. And we sincerely apologize for that. Daolan Wong bowed. But, before we make any promises, we'll need to know the details regarding their base, just so we don't give away anything of particular value that. Boom. Asterisk. The entire roof of the throne room was suddenly blown away as the girls of which, along with Jackie, who was hovering in the air via the rooster talisman, Caleb, who was being carried by Cornelia, Toru, who was being carried by Will and the hovering Jackie, Alchemy, in the form of a hawk with the monkey talisman, Yan Lin, being carried by Hei Lin, and Uncle, being carried by Hei Lin. Give us our Jade back, Will exclaimed as she brandished one hand to shoot with the dragon talisman, while Terani, Hei Lin, and Irma shot their respective elements, along with heat beam eyes from Caleb via the pig talisman, blasts of Kai magic from Uncle and Yan Lin's blowfishes, and even Cornelia threw in a series of rocks. The surprise was enough to catch the villains off guard as they were either blasted back or attempted to find cover. Jade snarled at her old friends as they sat down on the ground, only to be suddenly surrounded by a small army of Shotokan and Razor Khan. Crush them, the queen of the Shotokan ordered as they leapt at the heroes, forcing them all to scatter as the villains regrouped to try and counterattack. Will ducked underneath the slice from one Razor Khan and shot it with a blast from the dragon talisman, before ducking to avoid a magic blast from the hovering Phobos, who looked less than pleased. You dare attack me in my own palace. Phobos was ready to blast Will, but he never got the chance as Jackie flew in with a speed advantage, wielding both the rabbit and rooster talismans to deliver a kick to Phobos to send him crashing to the wall. Yes, we dare, Jackie stated as he glared at Phobos. Because you tried to take away someone that we hold dear. Phobos only growled as he shot more blasts of magic at Jackie and Will, forcing them to scatter and avoid the blasts. Toru, Cornelia, and Caleb came together as they were surrounded on all sides by the Shotokan, but Cornelia shook up the ground with her powers, causing the enemies to lose balance as Caleb blasted them with heat beam eyes before rushing forward to slice several of them with his katana, while Toru slapped and punched them away with his own strength. However, he didn't appear to notice Cedric looming behind him as the massive shapeshifter used his tail to smack Toru against the wall. Cornelia and Caleb looked ready to jump in and help him. No. Let me handle Cedric, you two just stay focused on the task at hand. Toru stated as he got up to face Cedric alone. The sumo charged at the shapeshifter as they locked hands and pressed their own strength against the other. Seeing how Toru could handle Cedric on his own, Cornelia and Caleb got to work dispatching the Shotokan. With a group of Razor Khan charging in first, Cornelia placed her hand on the ground to grow a series of roots from the floor to ensnare and impale the Razor Khan, as they were the most dangerous, leaving a small group of Ninja Khan remaining as Caleb blasted them into oblivion with his heat beam eyes. Lin created a set of razor-sharp air discs in her hands, which she sent out to slice through and destroy any Shotokan that she set her eyes on, appearing to control the air discs with her mind alone. Irma provided some cover as a trio of Razor Khan attempted to ambush her from behind, which she was quick to deal with by blasting a condensed stream of water from her hands to knock them back. Alchemy had used the monkey talisman to transform into a charging rhino, which allowed her to charge in and take down a group of 6 Shotokan, including 2 Razor Khan. When several Shotokan tried to get the jump on her from above, she transformed into a giant squid and used her tentacles to bat them away. Despite that, she still appeared to be surrounded, but help came in the form of Tyranny, who created a large vortex of flame to surround herself, and Alchemy, who changed back to normal, to keep the Shotokan at bay. Uncle shot a series of Kai blasts from his dual blowfish at Daolan Wang, who swung his staff to erect a barrier of dark magic to protect himself before blasting his own attacks at Uncle, who rolled along the floor to dodge the blasts before combining his blowfish together for a condensed blast of Kai magic, which Daolan Wang countered with his own large blast of dark Kai magic. Both beams collided as Uncle and Wang recited their respective chants. However, this appeared to be a distraction for 3 Ninja Khan and 2 Razor Khan to ambush him from behind. However, "Hey, over here!" One Kai blast from Yan Lin's blowfish got their attention as one Razor Khan was destroyed. "Who wants a piece of Grandma?" she challenged as the 4 remaining Shotokan charged her. Yan Lin ducked underneath the slice of the remaining Razor Khan before picking it up in one hand with little effort and throwing it away at a Ninja Khan and blasting both away with her blowfish. The last 2 Ninja Khan tried to come at her from both sides, but she flexed her fingers at them to send both crashing on the walls on the far side of the chamber. "I may be old, but I'm still as strong as an ox." Yan Lin smirked as she brandished the ox talisman. Jade hovered alongside Tarakudo as the queen and king of the Shotokan watched the fights unfolding before them, with the heroes appearing to be whining, but Jade solved that issue as she summoned even more ninja and Razor Khan to join in the fight. "You certainly are a quick thinker, my dear." Tarakudo complimented his queen. "And you're only so young. Just imagine how strong you'll be when you're all grown up." However, what neither appeared to notice, was Blunk climbing down from a pillar behind Jade. As he scaled down, the pasling reached into his clothes to pull out a vial of the potion. Once he was close enough to Jade, he leapt to try and pour it on her from behind, only for a Shotokan to emerge from the wall and grab Blunk by the feet in mid-jump. Blunk screamed as he was hung upside down by his feet. "Blunk, not steal this. It given to Blunk." He pointed to the potion, only for it to be snatched away by Jade as she looked at it with a scowl. Of course, they'd try something like this. Jade threw the potion to the ground, the vial smashing on impact, and the potion turning into dust. "But, it's likely not the only potion. Then I think it's time we put these games to an end," Tarakudo said as he unleashed one of his most powerful psychic blasts ever. This blast rocked the entire throne room as everyone, hero and villain, even the Shotokan, were all blasted away, smacking hard on the walls to stop the fighting. Even the Shotokan were all destroyed upon impact. Before the heroes even attempted to get back up, a duo of Ninja Khan emerged from the ground below each of them and grabbed their arms to pin behind their backs and force each of them to their knees. All of them, Jackie, Will, Uncle, Irma, Cornelia, Lin, Tyranny, Yan Lin, Alchemy, Caleb, even Toru were subdued as Phobos, Wang, and Cedric recovered. "Search them," Jade ordered as she and Tarakudo faced the heroes. The Shotokan wasted no time in following their queen's orders, searching the captured heroes, despite their protests. "Hey, watch where you're grabbing," Cornelia exclaimed as one of the Shotokan pulled a potion from her person. One by one, a potion was pulled from each of them, excluding Will, who didn't appear to be possessing any. Tarakudo then used his powers to telekinetically grab each vial, uncork them in midair, and pour out their contents on the floor. "No," Jackie exclaimed as they all looked in shock. "It would seem that you've all run out of tricks," Cedric hissed as he, Phobos, and Wang regrouped with Jade and Tarakudo. "And it also seems our queen knows where she belongs." Tarakudo smirked proudly at Jade. "Only because you freaking brainwashed her," Irma exclaimed. That's right. If Jade were in her right mind, she would have kicked all of you to the curb. Cornelia also exclaimed. Come on, Jade, we're your friends. Snap out of it. Alchemy practically begged. Jade scoffed. You were. Things are different, I have new friends. You mean this quartet of evil jerks? Hey Lin exclaimed. What about all those fun times we had together? You waste your words. Phobos told them. Face the inevitable, Jade is ours. And I think it's time she proves it once and for all. He reached down to her shoulder. It's time to end this. Suddenly, Jade grabbed Phobos by the wrist and began to squeeze it, much to his surprise. My minions were the ones who captured them. Jade told Phobos. I will decide their fate. Not you. Why do you hesitate, little one? Cedric hissed. They're right here. End them. Perhaps it is because you still have feelings for them. Wong glared, only to be silenced as he and Cedric were quickly surrounded by a group of Razor Khan. You do not question me. Jade exclaimed. This is quite enough. Tarakudo attempted to break it up. With the enemies appearing distracted, Jackie, Yan Lin, and Uncle looked towards Will and gave her a subtle message with a nod, which Will seemed to understand as she nodded back. Flashback. Wait, you want me to absorb the potion into the heart? Will asked as she was with Jackie, Uncle, Toru, and Yan Lin in the back room of the shop, just before they left to Meridian. Will, you should already know the heart of Kandrakar possess the ability to absorb other forms of magic, be they potions or even artifacts. Yan Lin said. Yeah, I know. Will replied as she held out the aforementioned jewel. I used it to absorb the amnesia potion Valmont used on Toru and cured him with it. And the same principle should apply to this potion as well. Toru explained. Like we've said before, Jade is smart, and under the influence of Tarakudo, she'll see through our plan to have extra potion if in the event anyone is destroyed. Okay, I think I get it. Will seem to understand. But what's to stop the bad guys from just taking the heart? Valmont was able to do that twice. Valmont is mortal human, Uncle explained. Heart of Kandrakar is made from extraordinarily powerful good magic. But those born of evil nature, such as Shotokan or demons, were incapable of touching it. Once heart absorbs potion, you will pull Jade out of Tarakudo's influence. Why me? I mean, Jackie, can't you do it? Will asked him. You did it before. Only because of the potion, and it was Toru who used it when the one I had was destroyed. Jackie explained. But, Will still seemed unsure, but Jackie put a gentle hand on her shoulder. Will, Jade is my niece and I love her dearly, the two of us have strong bond as family. Jackie explained. But, you two have something that I believe is even stronger. Because of that, I truly believe that if anyone can reach her, it is you. I know you can save her, and I have nothing but complete faith in you, Will. The redhead looked toward the man she called her friend and mentor in awe. He was placing not only his complete trust, but even Jade's fate, entirely in her hands. The look in Jackie's eyes told her that he knew she could save her. She glanced at Toru, Yan Lin, and even Uncle as they all felt exactly the same way. So, with a firm resolve, Will clenched the heart closer to her body as a determined expression formed on her face. I'll do it. I'll save her. End flashback. Will, still restrained by the Shotokan, used the momentary distraction of the villain's argument to draw out the heart's power, channeling not only the magic of the potion it recently absorbed, but also the heart's own inner power to blast a wave of pure good magic that destroyed not only the two Shotokan restraining her, but all the others that had restrained her friends. Now that she was free, Will wasted no time, flying straight at Jade, much to the villain's surprise, grabbing her and tackling her to the ground close to the throne. Let go of me. Jade struggled. No. I'll never let you go, Jade. Will exclaimed. Stop her. Phobos ordered as he, Wong, Cedric, and Tarakudo attempted to pull them apart, only to have their way barred by Jackie, Irma, Heilin, Cornelia, Terani, Toru, Uncle, Caleb, Alchemy, and Yan Lin. You'll have to get past us, first. Jackie stated as they charged at the villains to keep them away from Will and Jade. The remaining four guardians attacked Tarakudo with their respective elements as he tried to use Pin-owned powers against theirs. Jackie and Caleb engaged Phobos. Uncle and Yan Lin blasted their respective Kai magic at Daolong Wong, who used his own magic to counter it, and Toru locked again with Cedric, while Alchemy used the monkey talisman to turn into a gorilla and leap onto the evil shapeshifter. Blanc looked in awe as he saw Will using the heart's power to encase herself and the struggling Jade in a sphere of pink energy, not just to keep Jade from escaping, but to keep the villains out if they get past their friends. Jade, you're not yourself. You're not the queen of the Shotokan. Will tried to tell her as she pulled the struggling Jade into an embrace, the power of the heart of Kandrakar shining not only its bright pink color, but also with a purple glow which was from the potion that it absorbed. What do you know? Jade exclaimed as she continued to fight against Will. You have all this power. I had nothing. You have us. Will exclaimed, holding Jade tighter. You have our friends. You have your family. You have me. Despite the pleas however, Jade still attempted to fight Will back. Why are you doing this? Why are you trying so desperately to change me back into that weakling? Because you're my best friend. Will practically screamed. Jade's blood-red eyes widened once she heard those words. She looked at Will with an expression of honest shock, as if she had just told her something that rocked her whole world. What? You're my best friend, Jade. Will told her as she put both her hands firmly on her shoulders. When I first got into all of this, you were the one who helped me, who showed me what I could be, you and your uncle. When I was kidnapped by Phobos, you didn't even hesitate to try and save me, a girl you barely even knew. When I told you why I didn't like birthdays, or what my old friends did to me, you helped me and supported me, you even made me a gift out of magic. After what happened to Elion, even when Cornelia said it was my fault and I didn't blame her, you still stood up for me. You've always been there for me, Jade. You're the best friend I ever had, and I don't want to lose you. Tears built up in Will's eyes. Please Jade, I am begging you, come back to us. A single tear escaped from Jade's red eyes as they turned more human, albeit still red, and her skin turned into a lighter blue. Will. Jade's voice was starting to turn to normal as well. Yeah, it's me. I'm here, Jade. Will smiled, tears still in her eyes. Suddenly, Jade's eyes turned blood red again as the dark influence inside tried to gain control again, despite Jade's attempts to stop it. Will. I can't stop it. It's too strong. Help me. Will pulled Jade into a tight embrace, the heart of Kandrakar wedged in between them as it glowed even brighter. I'm here, Jade. I'll help you. We'll face the darkness together. You're not alone. The entire sphere began to glow a bright pink, which halted all the fighting as the heroes and villains looked to the sphere in either surprise or awe. Inside, Will poured as much of the heart's power into Jade's body as she could as Jade tried to help absorb as much of it into herself to try and purge her body of the dark influence. On her back, the symbol of the Shotokan began to glow a bright pink as it appeared to have vanished, or rather absorbed into her. Will's body began to glow a bright pink color as Jade's body, at first appeared to change into pitch black, but then changed into a bright purple color. Both colors mixed together as the sphere glowed and shined even brighter, almost like a miniature sun. It was so bright, that all the heroes and villains had to shield their eyes from the intense light. The light shined its brightest as it shot into the sky, sending a wave of pink and purple magic out of the castle and like a large explosion. When the dust cleared in what was left of the throne room, everyone had been blown back from the shockwave of pure magic. Jackie was among the first to regain his senses, along with Irma, Heylin, Terani, and Cornelia. Jade. Jackie looked toward the thick smoke where the sphere of magic was, right below the throne. Jade. Will. Jackie, and the girls quickly ran or flew toward the smoke. Will. Jade. Irma, Heylin, Terani, and Cornelia each all called out as they, along with Caleb, Toru, Uncle, Yanlin, Alchemy, and even Blanc ran toward the smoke as well. However, they stopped as they saw Will walk out of the smoke, carrying Jade in her arms. Though she still wore her attire as the queen of the Shotokan, her skin was its normal color, her hair was also back to normal as she appeared unconscious in Jade's arms. She's okay. Will assured with a smile. She's just knocked out, she said as Jade gave a slight groan, indicating that it was true. Thank goodness. Jackie caressed his niece's cheek with a loving smile, as everyone else smiled in relief as well. However, that relief soon came to an end, as they heard the villains beginning to recover, even Tarakudo had to shake the cobwebs from his head. Well, that certainly was something. The Oni King commented. But now, we can, however, Phobos didn't get a chance to finish as Terani, Irma, Cornelia, and Heylin loomed over them with angry glares of their own. Taking Elion away because she was your sister was one thing, Cornelia growled. But what you all tried to do to Jade. Even Heylin appeared to have lost her patience. You just made this all the more personal. Terani stated with glare. You jerkwads want a war. You got one. Irma exclaimed as Heylin tried to use as much of her own power to generate a massive tornado in the throne room. Toru stuck close to Will, who still held onto the unconscious Jade, along with Jackie, Alchemy, Uncle, Yanlin, Caleb, and Blanc, to keep them from blowing away. Already, the tornado had sucked up Wong, along with Phobos, and even the enormous Cedric was pulled in as well. Though Tarakudo maintained his ground as his powers prevented him from getting sucked up. With 3 of the villains already spinning round and around in the twister. Terani, Irma, and Cornelia threw in their respective elements to mix scalding hot flames. Water at high pressure, and even razor-sharp chunks of rock to burn, scold, and slice at Phobos, Cedric, and Wong as the elemental power and debris mixed into the tornado, which began to rise high above the throne room outside the castle, via the destroyed rooftop before the elemental tornado finally exploded to send Phobos, Cedric, and Daolon Wong falling outside and around the castle, all 3 screaming along the way. The dust and wind began to vanish, as Tarakudo appeared to be the only villain to remain. Flashy. He commented as he blew some debris from his mustache. But now I will, however. Jackie stood in front of him as he gave the Oni King a look of pure ire that had made even Tarakudo gulped. You will never lay a finger on Jade, again. Jackie took out an onion from his pocket and threw it at the Ona's face. Ah, my eyes. Tarakudo cried as he began to cry. Green energy. My eyes. He vanished in a puff of smoke as Jackie and the 4 guardians turned their attention back toward the unconscious Jade and their friends who still looked over her. We should go. Jackie said. No arguments here. Caleb agreed as the guardians and Jackie all took flight, the former using the rooster and rabbit talismans. Alchemy took the form of a giant hawk with the monkey talisman to allow Yanlin, Uncle, and Blanc to ride on top while Cornelia carried Caleb, Irma and Terani carried Toru, and Will carried Jade. The group then flew out from what was left of the throne room, their mission accomplished. Jade's eyes slowly opened as she gave a weak groan. Where am I? Your home, Jade. Jackie said with a smile as it was revealed Jade was in her room, tucked in her bed, with Jackie, Will, Uncle, Cornelia, Toru, Heylin, Irma, Terani, Caleb, Yanlin, Alchemy, and even Blanc all gathered around her bed with smiles. Guys, Jade looked down in shame. I'm sorry, what I did, Jade, that wasn't your fault. Will told her. It was Tarakudo. But don't worry, we sent him and his pals a warning not to mess with you again. Irma smirked. And considering we remodeled Phobos' throne room, I think they got the message. Cornelia had a smirk of her own. But, you went through all that because of me. Jade still felt some guilt. Maybe I should have, ow. She felt a familiar dope slap on her forehead. Jade overthink. Uncle chastised. You are family, and family always helps and supports each other. You are not a burden, and don't you ever once consider yourself to be. Uncle, Jade honestly had no idea what to say. He's right, Jade. Terani smiled. You're our friend, we'd do all that again in a heartbeat to save you. 'Cause that's what friends do. Heylin said as she pulled Jade into a hug. No matter what, we always got your back. Not just friends, but friends for life. Alchemy said with her own smile. Yeah. Even Caleb spoke up. I get you and I are not particularly close, but you can still consider me a friend too. He patted Jade's back with a slight smile. Toru opened his massive palm to show Jade half of the necklace he gave her after the Seymour Shiwu incident. You remember this, Jade. Yin and Yang, big and small, you and me. Guys, Jade was almost brought to tears at their support but was slightly caught off guard as Blanc handed Jade an old, partly rotted, flower. Girls like flowers. Blanc like Jade girl. Want see Jade girl smile, not cry. The pasling gave a toothy smile as despite the flower's poor condition, Jade still accepted it nonetheless. All these people, including myself, treasure you, Jade. Yanlin told her sincerely. No matter how much trouble you find yourself in, we'll always be there to help you. Jade, You are surrounded by so many people who care about you. Jackie began. And you might be reckless and get into more trouble than often. We will never stop caring for you, especially me. You are my family, and I love you. Jade smiled as she tried to wipe the tears from her eyes. Thanks guys. Everyone smiled as they each patted Jade on the back or gave her a half hug to welcome her back. Now, I believe it's time we let Jade get some rest. Jackie told the group as they began to leave. Will, you got a minute? Jade stopped the redhead from leaving. Will smiled back as she exchanged a look from Jackie, who gave a nod before closing the door as everyone else left, leaving the two girls alone in the room as Will sat on Jade's bed beside her. What's up? Did you really mean what you said? Jade asked. About me being your best friend. Absolutely, 100%. Will confirmed without a second of hesitation. You are my best friend in the whole world, Jade. And no matter what, that is never going to change. Ever since we first met, you've always had my back. And you better darn well believe I got yours. Jade didn't even bother to fight back her tears of joy as she smiled. Yeah, you're my best friend too. She and Will exchanged a hug, the kind that only the best of friends would share. Once they parted, Jade gave a smirk. So, what do you say tomorrow, we borrow the talismans and prank Uriah again? Maybe even trick him into going into the girls' bathroom. Will snickered. There's the mischievous Jade we all know and love. Sounds like a plan. She ruffled Jade's hair before standing back up. Good night. Night. Jade let herself fall to sleep as Will left the bedroom. Once outside, Will was greeted by Jackie, who happened to hear their whole conversation as he gave Will a smile and a thumbs up, which she was happy to return. Meanwhile, within a massive, ivory white citadel, one that also carried a bright purple glow in the air, there was a chamber that held a single pedestal with 5 glowing spheres that spun and rotated around the center. One was glowing pink, the other a red-orange color, another was a bright green, one was blue, and another was white. Ever since their formation centuries ago, there had been 5 spheres that continued to spin around and around, no sign of stopping or slowing down. That is, until now, when a 6th sphere had materialized itself, seemingly out of thin air, and spun along with the other 5. This 6th sphere was a purple color and seemed to radiate a similar energy the others were giving off. I don't believe it. One of 5 individuals spoke in awe as they saw the 6th sphere rotating with the others. A 6th Oromir. How is this possible? A woman, who appeared to be something of a humanoid cat, exclaimed in obvious shock. This cat woman was one of 5 individuals, all wearing white robes, that had gazed upon these Oromiras with their own eyes. One was a tall, bald man, another was an elderly, blonde woman, one was another tall man with a long white beard, and the last one was a short individual, also with a beard, and antenna-like features on his head. This shouldn't be possible. There have only been 5 Oromiras. The blonde woman voiced with worry. For a 6th to form, I don't even see how it can be. Regardless, we see it with our own eyes. The bald man, who appeared to be the leader of the group, said in a calm, yet concerned, tone of voice. There are now indeed 6 Oromiras, and from all indication, this one is just as powerful as the central one of Quintessence. What can we do about this? The blonde woman asked. Put an end to it, of course. The cat woman stated as if it were obvious. This could only spell trouble. True, the powers of the Oromiras are weakened due to us raising the veil, but if this new Oromir is as powerful as the central one, not to mention this one appears of darker nature. Is there anything that we even can do? The short man with the antennas asked. If we tamper with the Oromiras, it could have disastrous effects on the heart, and give the forces of darkness an advantage over us. Phobos on his own is dangerous enough, but the king of the Shotokan allied with him. The tall, bearded man spoke with worry. I don't even want to think of what those two can do together. And I believe this may be the universe's way to counter that. The bald man said. What do you mean? The blonde woman asked. As we all know, the universe seeks balance. The bald man began. Order and chaos, good and evil, yin and yang. The alliance of Tarakudo and Phobos, left unchecked, could have disastrous consequences. However, I believe that the appearance of this 6th Oromir is the universe's way of strengthening the forces of light so that they can better meet the challenge. For that reason, I believe it is best we let events unfold. The woman with cat-like features looked to their leader in shock. What? Do nothing. This could be disastrous. You said yourself this Oromir is just as powerful as the one of Quintessence, and we've all seen just how corruptive that can be. But if we leave it unchecked, it could damage the Guardian's connection to Kandrakar. That's a far greater danger than when Nerissa. If it gets to that point, we will intervene. The bald man assured. However, while this one may appear to have something of a darker origin, I can sense the incredible potential it has to be as a force for good. So, we will do as we always have, watch and observe. He gave a small smile as he continued to watch the 6 Oromirs circle around each other in unison. Darkness may rise, but light always rises to meet it. Ghosts and shadows. Caleb climbed the walls of Phobos Castle, easily able to scale via a grappling hook that he borrowed from Section 13, while also wearing a parachute on his back. Blanc also accompanied him as he hung onto Caleb's back. They reached the window that they hoped would be their destination. You sure this is the window you saw her at? Caleb asked his passling companion. Blanc totally sure. Blanc nodded. With that, Caleb had climbed quietly into the room, and hid behind the bed where Elion appeared to be sleeping. He noticed a pair of guards on the other side, both were asleep as well and somehow appeared to be standing up. Caleb motioned for Blanc to be quiet as he quickly snuck around the bed and right behind the pair of guards to smack their helmeted heads against each other and knock them unconscious. Acting quickly, Caleb took off his belt and used it as a makeshift restraint to bind their arms before making his way to the sleeping princess. Sorry to disturb your nap, Elion, but we're outta here. He tried to shake her awake, only for his hand to pass right through Elion's body before it evaporated into a transparent smoke, much to his and Blanc's shock. Looking for someone, they turned around in surprise to see the Dark Kai enforcers, with a group of guards, along with the real Elion behind all of them. Finn, Ratso, and Chow brandished their respective weapons and were ready to charge. Realizing they had to get out, Caleb quickly grabbed Blanc and leapt out the window, resulting in Blanc screaming as the young rebel tried to release the parachute. Captain Black said there was a cord. He exclaimed right before he found said cord and pulled it, releasing the parachute and slowing their descent as they hovered away from the castle. Earth, Heatherfield. Wow, look where we are. Haylin said as she, along with Jackie, Will, Cornelia, Jade, Irma, Cornelia, and Alchemy were all gathered underneath the main bridge of Heatherfield. This is where we guardianed up for the first time. I know it was only a short time ago, but so much has happened, it honestly feels like forever. Terani said. Yeah, if you told me a couple months ago that I'd be fighting evil princes, giant shapeshifters, evil wizards, magic ninjas, and floating demon heads, I would have called ya crazy. Irma commented. It certainly feels that way with this type of work. Believe me, I know. Jackie spoke from experience. Well, it feels like just yesterday for me since I didn't find out about this stuff till way later. Alchemy pointed out. So, where's Toru? He, Uncle, and Haylin's grandma are at the shop trying to do more research on the Oni masks. Jade answered. And we really should be ready for anything since Phobos and Tarakudo have teamed up. Will said. And we got no idea what other kinds of Shotokan those other masks have. So, let's guardian up and get this practice going. Cornelia urged. With nothing else needing to be said, Will took out the heart of Kandrakar and said the magic words. Guardians unite. Much like their first transformations. Will was engulfed in a glowing sphere of pink energy as colorful streams of elemental magic flowed from her to her other friends. A white, windy, stream of magic flowed around Haylin before she was engulfed in a white sphere. A stream of fire magic flowed encircled Terani before she was also engulfed in a sphere of orange energy. A blue, water-like, stream flowed around Irma's body before she was engulfed in a sphere of bright blue energy. Finally, Cornelia was encircled by a stream of green energy with leaves flowing around it before her own body was engulfed in a sphere of green energy. However, that is when something totally unexpected happened. Another stream, this one of light purple energy, with smaller, darker, shadow-like, streams flowed from Will and began to encircle Jade's body, much to her shock and surprise. Wah, Uncle Jackie. Jade cried in distress before her body was encased in a sphere of bright purple energy, much to the shock of Jackie and Alchemy. Jade. Jackie tried to run and help his niece, only for a bright white flash to shine throughout the area as per the typical transformations. Once the light faded, Will and the others had assumed their guardian forms. However, once they looked at Jackie's shocked expression, all 5 of them, and Alchemy, turned to see what Jackie was staring at, and they all gave gasps of their own. Jade had also undergone a sudden change. Now she was about as tall as the other girls. Her attire had changed from her casual clothes to what she wore as the Queen of the Shotokan. From the dark purple, spiked, sleeveless, top to the long black and spiky dress at the bottom. However, her skin was still its normal color as her hair grew out by a few inches. She also wore black and dark blue striped tights with a pair of black boots. But what stuck out the most were a pair of wings that grew out of her back. These wings looked identical to those that grew from the backs of the other girls of W.I.T.C.H. None however appeared more surprised than Jade as she looked all over her transformed body. What the hell? What happened to me? Jade. Will and the others all ran up to Jade as they seemed as surprised as she was. What happened to you? Lin repeated the same question Jade just said. Did you just transform? Irma exclaimed. Jade, you got the same wings we do. Terani saw the flapping wings on her back. You're tall, your hair's longer, you got the same kind of outfit. Cornelia began to list. Jade, are you a guardian? Will voiced the question that everyone else was thinking. As Jade ran to the river to look at her reflection, Jackie was rendered completely speechless. Over 1 million questions were going through his mind and he probably couldn't find an answer to any of them. However, out of everyone else who was shocked, Alchemy appeared totally amazed. Wow, Jade's a Guardia too. Why didn't you guys say anything? Alchemy exclaimed with a wide smile. Because, this has never happened before, Jackie answered, still not over his surprise. No way. I can't be a guardian. It's not possible. Jade exclaimed in total denial. Well, you have the look for it. Irma said. You even got the wings. I can't have the wings. I can't fly. However, right as she said that, her wings flapped rapidly before she shot herself into the air by accidentally, resulting in her screaming as she tried to steady herself, but she was so shell-shocked, she seemed unable to as she flew and spiraled through the air randomly. Will and Lin however were the first to fly up and grab her by the shoulders. Alright Jade, just calm down. Deep breaths, deep breaths. Will told her in a calm and soothing tone. This seemed able to calm Jade down as she stopped herself from hyperventilating. Okay, we're gonna slowly head back to the ground. Nice and slow. Lin eased as she and Will helped Jade slowly hovered back to the ground. Once they made it, Jade calmed down quite a bit as she fell to her knees, still not over the shock as everyone else came to help her. You alright, girl? Irma asked. I have no idea. Jade replied honestly. I mean, I can't be a guardian, can I? Actually, now that I got a good look, your outfit looks exactly like when you were the Queen of the Shotokan. Cornelia pointed out. But you got the wings and the tights. And your skin and eye color are normal. Terani also said. Almost like a hybrid or something. Jackie, maybe we should talk to Uncle and the others about this. Will suggested. Yes, that is a good idea. Jackie agreed. Uncle's rare finds. Iya. Uncle screamed as Toru and Yan Lin both gasped upon seeing Jade's transformed state, with Will and the others still in their respective guardian forms, were present along with Jackie and Alchemy. Why is Jade Shotokan Queen and Guardian together? We don't know, that's why we came here. Duh. Cornelia pointed out as if it were obvious. Will took out the heart to transform herself and the others, and Jade ended up being transformed with them. Jackie explained. Let me take a look. At both Jade and the heart. Yan Lin stepped up as Will held out the heart of Kandrakar and Yan Lin began to inspect it before looking all around Jade, taking notice at the wings on her back. Jade, be honest, do you feel any different? You mean aside from being totally freaked out of my mind? No, perfectly fine, Jade said sarcastically. Grandma, has anything like this happened with you and your team? Lin asked her grandmother. No, this has never happened. Not once with my team, or any of the other previous generations of Guardians. Yan Lin explained. There have always been 5 Guardians, and while various allies have assisted and fought alongside them, there has never once been a 6th. Perhaps this is the result of the heart of Kandrakar being used to cure Jade. Toru wondered, getting everyone's attention. Her appearance seems like a cross between her form as the Queen of the Shotokan and that of a Guardian. Maybe when the heart absorbed the magic spell that was used to cure Jade and when it was applied to her, it may have removed the evil influence, but maybe their magics mixed together to create this new form. That, actually does seem to make sense. Terani noted. Sure, if you wanna get involved in all that magic physics stuff. Irma said sarcastically. Perhaps Toru is correct. Yan Lin seemed to agree. Combining and mixing the heart's power with that of the power inside Jade at the time must have created an Oromir attuned to her. That seemed to confuse the group. An Oromir? Will asked. You got any idea what they're talking about? Alchemy asked Cornelia. Not a clue. The blonde replied. An Oromir is the source of a guardian's power. Yan Lin explained. Each of you has one that is tuned to your specific element through the heart of Kandrakar. She explained to the 5 guardians. But for a 6th to be created, this has to be more than simply powers mixing together. The heart of Kandrakar has come into contact with many forms of magic over the years, but only 5 Oromirs have existed. As the group tried to think of an answer, Jackie however appeared to have come to some kind of conclusion. An act of balance. What? Balance? Alchemy asked. You got an idea, Uncle Jackie? Hey Lin asked as Jade paid especial close attention. Uncle, you remember what you told me after we first defeated Shendu at his palace? Jackie asked his uncle, who nodded in response. You told me how the universe seeks balance. Yin and Yang. Uncle confirmed. When you defeated Shendu, it created a void that allowed the other demon sorcerers to fill when they tried to cross over into our realm. Yes, but that was for the forces of darkness. Jackie continued. And if the universe seeks balance, wouldn't the reverse also be possible? Jackie, could you maybe explain in a way we can understand? Will asked. After the defeat of the demon sorcerers, it left another void for a new evil to fill. Jackie explained. And I believe it's safe to assume that evil is Phobos. But, where there is a force for darkness, there is an equally strong force for light, a good to match that evil. That force for good, came in the form of you girls. He gestured to the girls of Witch. Don't forget you, I mean you can kick major evil butt too. Cornelia pointed out. Yes, Jackie said in acknowledgement before getting back to the main point. But, the scales tipped closer toward the side of evil, once Tarakudo made his appearance, which became especially prevalent when he joined forces with Phobos. Phobos' own ambitions, combined with that of the 9 Oni masks would make him and Tarakudo a threat that could expand well past Meridian and even Earth. Yan Lin said. Exactly. Jackie said. So, in order to balance things out again, to tip the scales back to the forces of light, some sort of universal force of nature must have worked through the heart of Kandrakar to create a 6th Oromir, in order to turn Jade into a guardian. Most of the group looked amongst each other as what Jackie told them seemed to process enough to give them a clear enough answer. Yeah, I think I get it. Hey Lin said. 2 big bad guys teaming up, so we need a new good guy. Okay yeah, can someone say all that for me again in English? Jade requested in a somewhat irritated tone. Things have gotten so bad with the forces of darkness that the universe decided to make you a guardian to even the odds. Irma translated. Jade seemed to understand. Oh, well, good news for us. Alchemy stated with a grin. Yeah, this makes J-Witch official. Hey Lin exclaimed as she and even Cornelia threw their arms over Jade's shoulder. Welcome to the team new guardian. Cornelia congratulated. The others were about to join in, but Jade backed away slightly. Whoa, hold on a second. Jade stopped any kind of celebration before it began. Okay, I get the whole yin-yang universe thing, but what kind of guardian am I? I mean you guys got all your powers. Fire, water, earth, air, Will's got heart powers or whatever that is, but what about me? Am I shooting lighting from my fingertips? What? As she threw her arms out however, she ended up shooting a sphere of black mass, which seemed to pulsate like fire as it was shot at the wall above the counter, causing an explosion and a slight burn on the wall, much to everyone's surprise. Whoa, Irma and Will said at the same time. Iya, Uncle was about as surprised as everyone else. But none were more surprised than Jade herself as she looked at her hands and began to concentrate a little bit before generating what appeared to be a black flame over her palms. What the hell is this? The group got a good look at the power Jade was displaying. It looks like black fire. Cornelia said. Fire can't be black, it's impossible. Terani commented. And shouldn't it be hot? Alchemy asked as she put her hand near it, but she didn't feel the least bit of heat. Jackie stuck the tip of his finger in before pulling it back. It's cold. I don't know what that is, but it's not fire. Shadow magic. Toru however seemed to know what it was as everyone directed their attention toward him. Since Jade's appearance is that of a mix between a guardian and the queen of the Shotokan, I can only assume that her new powers are something similar. Each of you has your own elemental power. He spoke to the individual guardians. Terani is fire, Irma is water, Cornelia is earth, Haylin is air, and Will is the bearer of the heart. I believe that Jade is the guardian of shadow. Is shadow even an element? Irma asked. Certain myths depict shadow, or even darkness, to be an element, the counterforce to light. Jackie explained. Depending on the myth's origin. Shadow powers, huh? Jade looked to the shadow magic that continued to surge in her hand. One would think that someone like her would be totally excited about having her own magic powers. But if that were the case, why did Jade look so nervous? Something that didn't go unnoticed by Jackie and Will. Everyone's thoughts were halted when the shop door suddenly opened as they all turned around to see Caleb and Blanc running into the shop. Guys, Caleb exclaimed. We got A. However, Caleb gasped the second he saw Jade's transformed appearance. What the? He quickly took a combat stance. Everyone, get back. Jade's turning into the queen of the Shotokan again. However, Cornelia quickly ran to grab him by the shoulders. Take it easy, rebel boy. Jade's just fine. In fact, she's a guardian now. Caleb's eyes were so wide they were almost dinner plates as he stared at Jade almost as if she grew a second head. She's a guardian, but I thought it was only the 5 of you. Please do not make us repeat all this. Jade exclaimed as she rolled her eyes. Yeah, I'm a guardian now, deal with it. Alright, calm down. Jackie put a hand on his niece's shoulder as he spoke to the young rebel. Caleb, we can explain all this. But before we do, we need you to tell us what the problem you are having is. Caleb decided to put his questions away as the circumstances surrounding Elion took priority. Alright, so Blanc and I were at the castle, trying to get Elion. But when I tried to grab her, she just vanished into thin air. That got everyone's attention as even Blanc spoke in agreement. Girl there, then girl not there. Blanc waved his arms for emphasis. Maybe some kind of magic hologram. Something Wong could cook up. Will asked as she spared a glance at Uncle, hoping for confirmation, but he himself seemed a bit perplexed. Did Elion vanish in dark smoke? Uncle asked. No, it was bright. Caleb answered. Then it is not the work of Daolon Wong, but Elion herself. Uncle stated. You mean like those astral drop things you said we could do? Terani asked. Something similar. Yan Lin responded. Elion is from Meridian, and now that she is in her birthplace, and fully aware of her status as the princess, her powers are growing with each day she spends there. Under the guidance of Phobos or even Daolon Wong, she will gain extraordinary powers. But why a magic hologram? Alchemy asked. Maybe to make things more difficult for us. Toru assumed. Phobos and the others know we're trying to get to Elion, so they are making decoys to throw us off. Perhaps the one Caleb and Blanc saw was a test run of sorts, to see how effective it could be. It really did look just like her. Caleb recalled. So, they know it works. Jackie said gravely. Meaning, they could use this to set up traps of their own. Meridian. Daolon Wong approached the throne of Phobos as the Dark Prince himself sat upon it, with Cedric, in his humanoid snake form, on his right, along with Tarakudo who hovered on Phobos' left. Elion's decoy worked to perfection. Wong reported. However, before the conversation could continue, they heard the gates opening as Cedric quickly turned back into his human appearance, Tarakudo vanished into the wall, and Phobos threw up the illusion to cover his dark throne room and make it look like a bright and happy one just as Elion walked in with Finn, Ratso, and Chow right behind her. You guys were right, they'll never stop coming for me. Elion said. What can I do? We'll need an army. Phobos answered as he stood up to approach his younger sister. Don't you already have one? She asked her brother. Not of guards. Of you. Phobos replied as he ruffled her hair slightly. Just do as I taught you, your majesty. Daolon Wong instructed the princess. Project an image of yourself, only this time, several at once. Alright. Elion began to concentrate on her powers. Already a surge of white energy surrounded her body as she began to create a series of duplicates of herself, much to the surprise of the Dark Kai enforcers, and the pleasure of Phobos, Wong, and Cedric. By the time it was done, there were more than 100 identical copies of Elion occupying the throne room. Whoa, Finn breathed in awe as his friends looked just as surprised before he smirked. She'd kill it in Vegas. How many do you think there are? Ratso asked. 1, 2, 3, 4, Chow began to count. 8, 9. Did you count that one? Ratso asked. I think so. Chow muttered. Hey, will you all stop moving around? He exclaimed to all the copies. It's so frustrating. I think I counted one of you twice. I honestly lost track of the real one. Finn confessed. Idiots. Phobos resisted the urge to blast all three of them for their stupidity alone. Back on Earth, Jade was in her own room, trying to get a new pair of clothes on as when she and the other Guardian girls transformed back to normal. Jade had actually grown significantly, now she was on equal height with the other girls. Unfortunately, most of her clothes were all at her old size, so it was difficult finding something to wear that could actually fit her. Of course, that wasn't the only thing on her mind. She was a guardian now, an actual and official guardian of the Veil just like Will and the others. It was crazy. What was even more crazy was that she didn't seem all that excited over it. If this had happened about a month ago, when they first started these adventures with the Witch crew, saying Jade would have been ecstatic about it would have been an understatement. So, why did she seem so reluctant now? Was it because she had the same kind of powers as the Queen of the Shotokan? There was a knock on the door when she heard her uncle's voice. Jade, can we come in? Jackie asked. Not really. Jade quickly said, I don't really have any clothes on, and none of the stuff I have will fit. Sorry, we'll buy you some new clothes later. Jackie said from the other side of the door, and he wasn't alone. Hey, we're about to head out to Meridian. Will said as she was also with Jackie. You coming? Jade hesitated for a moment before answering. Actually, why don't you go without me? The looks of shock and surprise on the faces of Jackie and Will could not be described with mere words. Did they just hear right? Did Jade really just say she didn't want to go on a magical adventure? Meanwhile, Caleb, Cornelia, Irma, Terani, Helin, Blanc, and Alchemy waited for the rest of their group underneath the bridge, but they'd been waiting for some time and were starting to become impatient. Where is everyone? Terani asked. Without Will we can't transform. Helin felt her phone vibrate as she took it out to look at it. Just got a text, they're having some problems with Jade so it might be a while. Well, I hope she's okay. Alchemy said. Typical girls. Caleb said in annoyance. Late. That really seemed to annoy the group. Excuse me, we're here, Cornelia pointed out, referring to herself and her friends. And we're outta here, Caleb stated as he appeared to have waited long enough and began to walk away. Come on Blanc, warm up your portal sniffer. Blanc took out the sucker he had in his mouth, which was covered in his slobber, and handed it to Irma much to her disgust. Keep warm for Blanc, he asked before catching up to Caleb. There isn't an ew loud enough. Irma cringed in disgust before throwing it away. Meridian. After entering his home realm, Caleb and Blanc attempted to disguise themselves with some hooded cloaks as they tried to search for Elion themselves through the local town. What we do when we find Elion? Blanc asked. First we make sure she's real. Caleb replied. With this, he showed a frisbee he got from a dumpster on Earth. The second he saw it, Blanc jumped up to the frisbee and grabbed it with his mouth like a dog. Blanc fetch. Caleb was quick to take it back, however. You don't even make a cute pet, he said before putting it away. We throw it at Elion, okay. If it flies right through her, she's a ghost. Or real bad catch, Blanc said as the pair turned the corner, where they appeared to find Elion at a stand. Caleb was ready to throw the frisbee, but Blanc pulled on his coat to get his attention, having noticed something else. Caleb, what we throw at her? He gestured to another Elion that appeared to be picking some flowers near the field. Uh-oh, Caleb grimaced, realizing he didn't think this plan through. Oh. Blanc pointed to a third Elion that walked into a nearby forest just outside of town. You check out that one. Caleb told Blanc as he pointed to the one that was still in town while Caleb himself ran to the forest to check out the Elion that continued to move away from the town. Caleb ran and followed the Elion into the forest. Once he was close enough, he threw the frisbee at her, only for an invisible telekinetic force to block it and send it flying. "What the?" Caleb exclaimed as the Elion turned around to give him an evil grin before the smoke faded away to reveal the Lord of the Oni himself as he hovered closer to the young rebel. "So, boy wants to play fetch, does he? Tarakudo!" Caleb shouted, but before he could even attack, Tarakudo shot another psychic blast to send Caleb crashing hard into a tree, causing him to drop the bag of onions he prepared just in case. "Nice trick, huh?" Tarakudo mused. "Turns out little Elion is quite gifted. All I have to do is hide in one of those little lookalikes to get the drop on any do-gooders with funny ideas." Caleb tried to reach for the onions, only for Tarakudo to telekinetically lift them into the air. "Sorry, no vegetables for you, young man." He threw them away before picking up the struggling Caleb in his psychic grip. "Put me down, you, floating head thing. If I had a nickel for every time, I'd be called that," Tarakudo replied before flying toward the castle, while also carrying Caleb with him, which went completely unnoticed by Blanc. Back on Earth, Cornelia, Alchemy, Irma, Terani, and Heylin continued to wait for their friends. Fortunately, they didn't appear to wait so long as Jackie's van pulled up with Will, Uncle, Toru, and a reluctant Jade, stepping out. Jade also appeared to be wearing some new clothes that Will had to let her borrow. "What took you guys so long?" Cornelia questioned. "We ran out of gossip. We had to talk about schoolwork." She shivered at that last comment. "Hey, it's not my fault my clothes don't fit me anymore," Jade quickly exclaimed. "We had to get some new clothes for Jade to wear before she could come. We'll buy her something else later," Jackie quickly explained, though he left out the part where Jade didn't want to come at first. However, Will and Jackie, and even Toru, were able to convince her to join them to properly test her new powers as a guardian, but not before receiving a dope slap from Uncle for taking too long to decide. "Where is Caleb?" Toru asked. "Went off to Meridian," Irma said before Uncle delivered a dope slap to her forehead. "Ow. Why would you let Rebel Boy go to Meridian alone?" Uncle exclaimed. "Caleb is reckless. Recklessness makes easy to capture. Have you not been paying attention?" "Well, what were we supposed to do? Chain him to a wall?" Terani questioned. Guys, stop." Heylin got in the middle to stop everyone from arguing. "Look, we're all here now, let's just go." Will nodded in agreement as she took out the heart of Kandrakar. The second Jade saw it, she had a reluctant look on her face as Will said the magic words once again. "Guardians unite." The 6 guardians hovered close to the ground, just underneath the canopy of the forest they were trekking, to avoid being seen as Jackie, Toru, Uncle, and Alchemy stuck closer to the ground. The group came to a stop just before the forest ended right at the edge of the town as the guardian girls sat down. "Hey, I see her." Alchemy pointed to what appeared to be Elion at a food table. Cornelia was about to call out to her, but Jade stopped her. "Don't bother, that's not her." That caught everyone's attention. "Jade?" Jackie asked. "How can you tell?" Terani asked. "She doesn't have a shadow." Jade replied. "Wait, you can see her shadow from here?" Will asked. "No, I can sense it." Jade tried to explain as best she could. "It's hard to put into words, but I can sense the shadows of people that I look at, but I can't sense anything from her. All living things cast shadows." Uncle began to explain himself. "Shadows contain half our life force, our Kai. If something does not cast a shadow, it has no Kai, and is not truly alive." That actually sent a shiver down most of their spines. "Kinda Dracula-ish," Cornelia commented. "What about that one by the flowers?" Heylin asked, pointing to the Elion that was currently picking the flowers. All Jade needed to do was glance in its direction. "Nope, fake," she confirmed, sensing no shadow at all. "You know, add some bleepy noises, and this would be a really cool video game," Heylin commented. "There's another one." Will pointed to another Elion that stood in front of Blanc as he tried to get its attention. Jade was about to confirm it, but Irma beat her to it. "Nah, she's talking to Blanc like she knows him. Plus, she's not holding her nose. They could have these fake Elions all over town," Jackie stated. And I believe that every single one of them could be a trap. Which means Caleb was probably captured. Toru said. Real Elion is likely in castle. Uncle pointed to the castle in the distance. Where Phobos can watch her closely. She is too important to his plans to let her out his sight. Hang on, let me check. Heilin began to listen to the air, focusing on the castle as she tried to isolate the sound waves that were carried from castle by the air. She focused hard enough that she was actually able to isolate the sound waves she recognized as their friend. Phobos. Something troubling you. She heard Phobos' voice as well as she continued to listen to their conversation. Well, no, it's just, I left my old sketchbook on Earth and it was pretty important to me. I wish I had it here. Then I shall make arrangements to retrieve it. But first, I have something that I wish to show you. Got her. Heilin told everyone. She's definitely at the castle. Alright. Jackie understood as he began to relay instructions. Alchemy, go get Blunk and wait for us by the portal. Everyone else, we're going to that castle. Phobos led his sister into the main hallway of his castle where Cedric and Wong were present, the former pouring some tea, while the Dark Kai enforcers held a familiar individual by his arms. For your pleasure, Princess Elion. Cedric presented to the girl. A cup of tea, and a rebel commander. The Dark Kai enforcers threw Caleb to the ground, his hands bound by dark magic behind his back as a collar of the same substance encircled around his throat. Caleb, Elion was surprised to see him, but when he tried to speak, the only thing that came from his mouth were a series of gargles. What's wrong? Why can't he talk? I have placed a spell that will prevent him from speaking any of his lies and deceit. Wong explained. For you see, this young man was the one who gave your friends the heart of Kandrakar. What? Elion exclaimed before she glared at the struggling Caleb. You brainwashed my friends. I can't believe this. To think I actually had a crush on you. I will see to it that he receives the proper punishment, dear sister. Phobos assured as Caleb still tried to speak, but Daolon Wong's spell prevented him from doing so. You think he has something to do with our parents' murder? Elion asked her brother. Unlikely, he is far too young to have committed the deed. Phobos replied. However, that isn't to say he doesn't know who did it. For all we know, the real killer could be hiding within the rebellion, using those lies and false rumors to justify their cause as they try to seize the throne for themselves. They killed my parents, and brainwashed my friends. Elion questioned before glaring at Caleb once more. Caleb, I swear that if you really had anything to do with that, you will pay. However, the doors suddenly opened as a guard quickly came running in to alert the group. The Guardians and their allies are attacking. Escort my sister to safety, we will deal with this. Phobos ordered the enforcers. No problem, Big P. Finn said as he and his friends began to escort Elion away. Your Highness, there's more. The guard told Phobos as Elion overheard it as well. There's another one. 6 Guardians. What? Phobos exclaimed in shock as even Wong and Cedric were utterly surprised. Wait, what did he say? 6 of them. Elion asked in confusion as the enforcers tried to urge her along. Best let your brother handle this. Ratso said. Yeah, you don't want to get caught in the middle of all that. Chow also said as they escorted her to safety. Outside, Jackie, Toru, and the 6 Guardians were practically in a war zone as they threw everything, they had to beat back the guards. Toru ran and charged into a group of soldiers as he swapped his massive arms to beat them all back. Heilin provided cover for the big man as she created a series of air discs in her hands, which she threw at the nearest group of guards to slice their weapons, disarming them and leaving them vulnerable for Toru to swipe and punch them down with his superior strength. Terani threw a series of fireballs to blast away a group of guards, with Irma sending several more crashing along the ground by blasting a stream of water at them. Cornelia also shook up the ground with her own powers to knock a group of guards down before growing several root tendrils from the ground to ensnare them. Jackie ducked underneath the swing from one guard's sword before grabbing him by the shoulder and flipping him over himself to knock down 2 more trying to charge him from behind. 3 more guards tried to rush him with axes and swords, but Jackie picked up a spear from a downed guard and spun it like a master staff wielder before making a confident smile and a hand gesture to bring it on. He then used his new weapon to block the guards' weapon strikes before knocking them down by sweeping the non-lethal end of the spear at their legs. Will and Jade came back to back, as they appeared surrounded by guards. They exchanged glances and nods just as the guards charged them. Both girls locked their arms together before Jade bent her back to bring Will's body up as she spun around, kicking her feet out to knock back all the guards in one single motion. Though Jade was still hesitant about using her new shadow powers, she still knew Kung Fu. Phobos, Daolan Wang, and Cedric watched this one-sided fight play out as Tarakudo emerged from the wall next to them. "Well, this is a surprise," the Oni King noted upon seeing the group of heroes. "I thought there were only 5 guardians. How is this possible?" Cedric questioned. Daolan Wang got a good look at the newest guardian. "That girl, she's the queen of the Shotokan. So, she's a Gaudian now," Phobos exclaimed before glaring up at the floating demon head. "Tarakudo, what is the meaning of this? Let's find out, shall we?" Tarakudo suggested as he flew down to the group as they had just finished dealing with the guards outside. However, before the heroes could celebrate, Toru felt a chill down his spine. Uh-oh. At this point, everyone else knew what Toru's shivering meant. "Let me guess, the Willies." Irma gulped. Suddenly the group was hit with a powerful psychic blast from Tarakudo himself as he roared and shot down at all of them. And he was not the only one, as Cedric, having already transformed, slithered down as well, with Phobos and Daolan Wang shooting their respective magic blasts at the heroes. Back inside, Caleb struggled in his magic bonds, but they didn't budge. He couldn't even call the others for help as the spell still remained around his throat. However, his attention was caught by Uncle, who had climbed over the window now that everyone else appeared to have left. Uncle said nothing as he brought out his blowfish to zap some Kai magic at Caleb's bonds, freeing not only his hands, but also removing the spell around his throat and allowing him to speak again. "Thanks." Caleb breathed a sigh of relief, only to be dope-slapped in the forehead by the elderly Kai wizard. "Ow. What was Rebel Boy thinking?" Uncle exclaimed. "Too dangerous to go on your own. No way of knowing which Elion was real and fake." All right, I'm sorry." Caleb quickly apologized before picking up his downed weapons, which included his sheathed katana. "Now come on, they need our help." Cedric roared as he charged Toru, grappling with the large sumo as they each pitted their own strength against the other. As usual, both of them seemed evenly matched. However, when Terani tried to fly in and blast Cedric from behind, Cedric actually lifted Toru's body and turned around, so that the fireball could hit Toru in the back, causing him to grunt in pain. "Oh no." Terani covered her mouth in shock, realizing she just hit her friend. With Toru distracted for a minute, Cedric grabbed and lifted him up to throw at Terani and send them crashing into a nearby wall. Cornelia tried to shake the ground that Daolan Wang stood on while also trying to ensnare him in a series of root tendrils. But Wang only needed to blast the roots with his magic to disintegrate him before blasting Cornelia back with a surge of dark magic from his scepter. Irma and Hei Lin tried to combine their powers in an attempt to overpower Daolan Wang with a surging blast of water and wind, but Daolan Wang had already shielded himself with a powerful dome of dark magic before using a spell to sink the two girls into the ground like quicksand. Daolan Wang gave an amused chuckle. "Your skills have indeed improved. But your crude use of elemental magic is no use to my precise skills." He was then hit in the back by a blast of green magic that sent him rolling across the ground. "Then perhaps you'd like a piece of Uncle instead." Uncle challenged as Cornelia used her earth powers to free Irma and Hei Lin from their predicament. "Help Toru and Terani. Uncle will deal with Daolan Wang. He's all yours," Irma stated as the 3 guardians flew towards Terani and Toru, who were still dealing with Cedric. Wang got back up to glare at Uncle, who glared back as they each shot a beam of their respective Kai magics to clash against each other once more. Jackie clashed his staff against Phobos' sword as the Dark Prince glared at his foe. "You have a rather bad habit of interring, Chan." "It's what I do," Jackie said before sweeping his feet to knock Phobos down, but he quickly blasted a point-blank magic attack to knock Jackie back, breaking the staff in half as Phobos quickly got up to try and bring his sword down on him, only for it to be blocked by a katana, courtesy of Caleb. "I don't think so," the rebel leader stated as he swung his katana at Phobos, forcing him to block and parry with his own sword, leaving him open for Jackie to get back and deliver a flying kick to send Phobos skidding across the ground. Jade gazed up in clear feet the sight of Tarakudo who hovered over her. This day is full of surprises. He gazed down at Jade. You may not seem like it, but you certainly look the part, Queen of the Shotokan. He smirked evilly. Can I assume this means you're returning to the forces of darkness? Hell no, Will exclaimed as she flew in defense of her friend. You're not getting your hooks sinked into her again. She was about to fly and attack Tarakudo, but the Oni King used his psychic powers to blast Will to the nearest wall and pin her there. Will, Jade exclaimed as she saw her friend trapped. If I recall, you were the one who turned her back to human. Tarakudo narrowed his eyes at Will. Because she's not your little plaything, you got that. Will glared, only to be pressed harder into the wall by Tarakudo's powers. Perhaps she might be more willing to cross over, if she no longer has any friends on the side of light. Tarakudo was ready to launch a powerful psychic blast to crush Will completely. No, Jade exclaimed as she quickly flew in front of Will, holding her hands out to try and take the attack herself. However, once her hands were thrown out, a large wall of shadow magic appeared in front of both of them that not only blocked the attack, but even absorbed it so that no harm could be done to either girls. This act had caught Tarakudo completely off guard, which was a first for even him. What? Even Jade and Will looked in surprise as the former looked toward her hands and the wall of shadows that she had just created before it vanished. However, before anyone could do anything else, a horn was sounded throughout the castle grounds as several more guards and Lurdans attempted to enter the courtyard. It's time to go, Jackie stated as he, Caleb, Toru, Uncle, and the other guardians tried to regroup and attempt to leave. What about Elion? Cornelia questioned. I'm sorry Cornelia, we'll come back for her. I promise, Jackie assured just as enemy reinforcements had entered the courtyard. Coming to a reluctant acceptance, Cornelia grabbed Jackie and flew into the air as Lin did the same for Uncle, Terani and Irma grabbing onto Toru, and Will grabbing onto Caleb as they flew away from the castle along with Jade and out of range of the archers among the enemy hordes. As they flew away, Tarakudo looked with interest as he saw Jade fly away, appearing to be pondering just what kind of power she wielded. Tarakudo! Phobos exclaimed, getting his attention as the Dark Prince marched toward him. Explain. Now. I'm not entirely sure, but if I were to take a guess, I'd say when the red-haired girl used the heart of Kandrakar to try and cure the queen, she might have unknowingly created a new power that enables the young lady to turn into a new type of guardian. Tarakudo assumed. At least that's my theory. So, to be clear, your attempts to garden a new ally for us, have only succeeded in making our enemies stronger. Phobos questioned, clearly angry over this new development. A miscalculation. Tarakudo spoke calmly. One I doubt that nobody could see coming. Even the girl herself seemed a little confused. When we joined forces, I had hoped you would provide me with the aid necessary to crush our enemies. The angered Phobos exclaimed. But it seems I was mistaken. He drew his sword from thin air as he pointed at Tarakudo. Give me one reason why I should allow this so-called partnership to continue. Suddenly, Phobos was sent flying toward the castle wall and slammed against it, via Tarakudo's psychic power that kept him pinned. As I said, it was a miscalculation. Tarakudo spoke in a seemingly calm tone of voice. I understand your frustrations, but perhaps it would be more effective to point them in a more productive direction. I consider myself a patient demon, but one thing I will not tolerate is infighting among my own side. Rest assured, I have every intention of assisting you, should you and your minions assist me in finding my masks. But, if you dare take that sort of tone to me again, or even threaten me, I promise, I will make you sink into the deepest depths of darkness so horrible, it makes that abyss of shadows in your basement seem like a playground by comparison. Am I understood? For one of the few times in his life, Phobos began to exhibit genuine fear. Though he was quick to try and mask it, Tarakudo could clearly see it in his eyes, yet allowed the Dark Prince to respond. Clearly. Phobos assured. Good. Tarakudo accepted as he let go and allowed Phobos to get back to the ground on his feet. Earth. Upon returning to Heatherfield, night had fallen as the group sat around a bench at the park, along with Alchemy and Blanc, as they tried to think about their next move. During which, Caleb was telling them what he had learned from Elion. She thinks we've been brainwashed. Cornelia questioned. That's right, Caleb confirmed. She thinks that I gave you the heart of Kandrakar to control you, and that someone in the rebellion killed her parents. Can you actually believe that? Believe it or not, it did seem enough to convince Elion. Terani pointed out. Phobos and the others must have told Elion this so that she wouldn't trust us, even if we did have the chance to talk to her. Jackie said. Even if we do go back to Meridian, or even break into Phobos Castle, it's almost impossible for us to tell whether it's a fake or the real one. Toru added. Jade could tell the difference. Will pointed out. That whole shadow sense thing. Doesn't mean I know where the real one is. Jade replied. Heck, she might not even be in E.H. Castle anymore. Phobos and company could have moved her somewhere else and we don't even know where. Jade is correct. Uncle agreed. We have broken into castle before. Phobos is evil, yes. But stupid. No. Castle may no longer be safe place for Elion. Forces of darkness could have made new hiding space for her. As the group tried to think what they should do, an idea came to Lin. So, anybody know anything about a missing sketchbook? No, but you win the random question of the day award. Irma replied. I overheard Elion talking to Phobos about wanting it. Lin said. This caused Cornelia and Alchemy to gasp in realization. Her favorite sketchbook. They both exclaimed at the same time. She got that for her from Cornelia on her 8th birthday. If it's still here on Earth, we can use it as bait. Caleb said. Maybe even get Elion back here long enough to talk to her. After that full-scale assault we did on Phobos Castle, I doubt he's gonna let her anywhere out of his sight. Jade pointed out. But maybe we can use her sketchbook to make a locator spell, one that can lead us to the real Elion. Toru proposed. That could work, Terani said. Section 13 has a surveillance van parked outside Elion's old home, just in case she ever came back, or if Phobos ever sent someone there. Jackie said. They should be able to let us inside without a problem. Do not just stand there. Uncle said to everyone. Get cracking. In little time, the heroes had made it inside the house and had spotted Elion's room. Cornelia had opened the door, but before the group could walk inside however, Uncle stopped them. Uncle. Jackie looked to him with concern, as well as everyone else. Uncle said nothing as he pulled out his blowfish and shot into the room, with a single Kai blast hitting the wall before it revealed a dark blue magic barrier that surrounded the walls, ceiling, floor, and everything else in the room. Dark magic. Uncle identified. Daolon Wang must have cast a spell over Elion's room some time ago, to prevent us from using anything of hers to create Kai spell. Do you think we'll be able to create a counter spell, Sensei? Uncle have ingredients back at shop. Uncle explained. Jackie, Toru, Caleb, Blanc, come with me to shop. Girls, search room for sketchbook. Wait, why I do have to go and make a spell? Caleb questioned. I should stay here and help, ow. He felt a familiar slap on his forehead. Boys not search in girls' room. Uncle chastised. Is rebel boy a pervert? No. Then do not enter girls' bedroom. Pretty much all the girls snickered in amusement as even Blanc chuckled. Oh, Caleb naughty boy. Caleb however looked completely mortified. What? I'm not a pervert. We're not looking through her clothes. Just. Jackie stopped his rant by putting a hand on his shoulder. Let's just head back to the shop and work on the spell, I'm certain the girls can handle this. He then looked to the 7 girls. But, if something comes up, don't hesitate to call. You got it. Will nodded. Just make sure this guy doesn't go into my room. Jade joked, referring to Caleb, resulting in the other girls laughing as Caleb grumbled while he and Blanc followed Jackie, Uncle, and Toru back downstairs and out of the house. Once they were gone, the girls wasted no time in searching Elion's room. Though the spell Daolon Wang had casted prevent any sort of Kai spell from being used on any object in the room, it still seemed to allow them to at least touch everything else physically. Cornelia and Alchemy looked inside Elion's closer. Lin and Jade searched under the bed. Irma looked around her desk, while Will and Terani searched her 2 separate dressers. But so far, they have come up empty. Not under here, Will said. Nothing. Cornelia also said. Except for the shoes she borrowed last year. If this sketchbook is pretty important, you'd think it'd be somewhere she can easily get it. Jade commented. Lin's phone then began to ring. It's Dad. We're supposed to be having that fake sleepover at home. She answered her phone. Coming, Dad. We're just leaving the mall now. She hung up. So, that's it. We just leave? Alchemy asked. Jackie and the others are working on that counter spell, remember? Terani asked. But what if the bad guys show up before they have that spell ready? Alchemy asked. Will took a glance at Jade before an idea came to her. Tell you guys what, Jade and I can stay here and keep looking. We will. Jade asked in surprise. Yes, we will. Will stated more firmly as she put a hand on her shoulder. If we find it, we'll call you guys. The others seemed to accept that. Alright, see ya guys. Irma waved as the girls began to leave before Cornelia showed them a stuffed kangaroo toy. If you guys get lonely, the kangaroo talks. Cornelia pulled on the string. G'day, mate. My name's Joey. Right as the girls all left, Jade gave a sigh. Why do I get the feeling you wanna talk about something? She asked as she sat on the bed. Jade, what's going on with you? Will asked as she sat down next to her. I thought you'd be super excited about having your own magical powers now, considering you keep borrowing the talismans from Section 13 all the time. Now you just seem so not excited. That's not like you. Yeah, you'd think. Jade began. Honestly, if I had maybe lightning powers or something, I'd actually be a little excited. It's because it's so much like the Queen of the Shotokan thing, right? Will seemed to figure it out. Seeing no point in denying it, Jade only hung her head. Yeah. Look, you might have the same clothes and all, but so far as I've seen, you're still the same Jade. Will told her. Am I? Jade questioned, her fears becoming evident. I don't even know anymore. I became the Queen of the Shotokan twice, and now I got the same kind of powers as a so-called guardian. Question mark. You know, the more I thought about it, the more I realized I just got this bad streak in me. I mean, how many times has Jackie told me to stay back where it's safe, and I just ignore him and end up right there in the danger zone. Heck, some of those problems are even my fault, all because I just want part of the action. Yeah, maybe I do help, but is that why I'm even doing it? Am I helping because it's the right thing? Or am I just looking for a thrill? Am I really just selfish? And maybe that Queen of the Shotokan is really who I am deep inside. Am I just a bad person? No, you are not. Will took her friend by the shoulders and looked her right in the eye. Jade, you are not a bad person. I mean, yeah, you're not exactly perfect, you might be reckless and even make a few mistakes. But it all comes from a good place, you just want to help us. And even if it's something silly, like trying to make yourself taller with magic, you're not actually trying to hurt people. You want to help, in your own mischievous way. Jade looked at Will with shaky eyes as the redhead pulled out the heart of Kandrakar and showed it to her friend. Look, I'm not exactly an expert on this cosmic yin and yang thing, but everyone is saying how the heart is good, and the guardians are a force for good. And now, you're a guardian too. Yeah, your powers might be different than the others, but that could just be a coincidence because you were brainwashed before or something. Look, the point is, for all your flaws, you are a good person. So good, that the freaking universe gave you your own magic powers. And you're not alone in this, you got both your uncles, you got Toru, you got the other girls, and you got me. You and Jackie helped me get used to all this magic stuff, so I'm gonna be here to help you every step of the way. Because that is what best friends do. She finished with a smile. Jade had never felt so moved before in her life. Despite all the concerns and fear she had for her new power, Will had just told her that she is a good person and she would never let her feel alone in this world. This was enough for Jade to smile as she tried to push back the tears she had in her eyes. Thanks, Will. Anytime, Will said before they shared a hug. However, the tender moment was brought to a halt as the heart of Kandrakar suddenly began to glow brighter. Ah, Will. Jade looked toward her with concern. That's not me, she replied. They both turned to see the closet beginning to shake before the doors burst open to reveal an active portal. Acting quickly, Will and Jade ducked and rolled underneath the bed to avoid being seen as the Dark Kai enforcers stepped out of the portal and into the room. Well, we're here, Chow said. What are we looking for again? The kid's sketchbook. It's gotta be here somewhere. Finn said as they began to fan out and search for it. Hey, why didn't Elion come with us? Chow asked. Ain't it her book? Phobos is already in enough of a bad mood, you wanna make him even more mad? Finn questioned as he searched in her desk. However, he noticed an uncertain look on Ratso's face as he wasn't searching. "What's up?" This is kinda awkward," Ratso confessed. "We're looking through a little girl's things, we might be bad guys, but we're not pervs." Chow shivered. "Yeah, tell me about it. In fact, I'm not even gonna do this." He stopped searching. Why not have Phobos and his pals look for it themselves? Even Finn was in agreement. "You know what? You guys are right. I don't care if they zap us, we're not pedophiles. Glad to know you guys have such high standards." "Gee thanks," Ratso replied before their eyes all widened, realizing whose voice they just heard. Suddenly a bright light shined out from underneath the bed before Will and Jade, both in their respective guardian forms, appeared before the enforcers. "Since you guys don't wanna be here, why don't we show you the door?" Jade suggested as she delivered a roundhouse to Ratso's face to send him crashing into the dressers. Finn and Chow immediately pulled out their respective weapons as they went on the offensive. Chow swung his staff at Will, who backed toward Elion's desk before using her enhanced strength to pull off the top from it and use it like a makeshift shield to block Chow's staff, while Jade was on the defensive from the slashes of Finn's bladed weapon. Jade tripped backwards as she backed into an ottoman but acted quickly as she kicked with both her feet at the ottoman to trip Finn up and knock him onto the ground. However, Ratso quickly got back on his feet and pulled out his hammer to slam it onto the ground, shaking up the entire room as Will and Jade were sent crashing out the window and outside. "Dude, you just trashed Elion's room," Finn told his friend as Ratso winced at the sight of the damage he just did. "Oh, sorry." Ratso looked down before accidentally stepping onto the stuffed kangaroo. "G'day mate, my name's Joey." However, once they heard the kangaroo toy, they looked down to see something sticking out of its pouch. Chow quickly picked it up. "Hey, it's a sketchbook. We found it." "Thanks. We'll take it," Will said as she and Jade had flown back up to try and grab the sketchbook, but Chow kept his grip firm as Ratso and Finn tried to help him in pulling it. The two Guardians and 3 Dark Kai enforcers were locked in a game of tug-of-war for the sketchbook, but it lasted only a few seconds before something tore from it, causing the 2 girls to go flying back as the enforcers had the sketchbook. "Come on, let's get out of here," Finn stated as they ran back into the portal. "Call Jackie," Jade asked as she helped Will to her feet. "Call Jackie," Will confirmed as she pulled out her cell phone. The Dark Hand trio had given the sketchbook to Phobos as they met with him in the bunker where Elion was currently staying. The Guardians were there. "You certain?" Phobos questioned. "2 of them, but yeah." Chow nodded. "And hey, next time you wanna search through your sister's stuff, do it yourself," Finn stated. "Yeah, we ain't pedophiles," Chow also stated. "You should apologize to us," Ratso also said. However, this only seemed to irritate Phobos even more. "You 3 will guard these tunnels for your lives, or I will obliterate you. You'll wish you were facing Chan and the Guardians again once I'm done with you." "Apology accepted," Ratso quickly said as he and his friends backed away in slight fear. "Works for me," Finn also said. Chow nodded. Putting on a happier demeanor, Phobos entered his sister's personal bunker deep inside. "Elion, I brought you something." He walked up to her and presented her the object in his hand. "Oh wow, my sketchbook. Thank you." Elion smiled as she gave her brother a grateful embrace before pulling away to look at some of the drawings she had already done so far. But her smile faded in confusion once she noticed that one of her drawings was torn in half. Will and Jade had presented the other half of the paper to the other girls, the rest of the Chan clan, Caleb and Blanc, the pasling helping himself to a half-eaten candy bar that fell out of the kangaroo toy. "This is Elion's sketchbook," Caleb questioned skeptically. "Half a picture of a horse." "Hey, it was all we could get," Jade protested. "You try fighting off 3 super-powered Dark Kai dudes in a tight space. And it's not a horse, I think it's a face," Will said. "Or a map of Spain," Cornelia also guessed. "I'm sure they did the best you could," Jackie assured. "And even if it's only half a picture, we can still use it." "Right?" he asked his uncle. "Yes," Uncle confirmed. "Uncle has prepared both counter spell and locator spell. Toru, assist," he instructed his apprentice as he took the picture himself. "Yes, sensei." Toru nodded as the master-student duo sat in the room with the picture laid out in between of them. Uncle held out a blowfish while Toru took out a dried lizard as they both pointed to the half sheet of paper and began to chant simultaneously. Yumo gui gui fi di zao. Yumo gui gui fi di zao. Yumo gui gui fi di zao. As they chanted, beams of green energy shot from their respective blowfish and lizard at the paper to not only remove Daolan Wang's enchantment, but even cast a locator spell onto it, which was evident by the green glow that surrounded it. This will lead us to the real Elion. Toru said as Uncle took the picture while Will took out the heart of Kandrakar to transform Cornelia, Heilin, Terani, and Irma. The group consisting of the 6 guardians, Chan Clan, Alchemy, Caleb, and Blanc all stepped out of the portal and onto what appeared to be a mountain top as they followed Uncle, who held the locator spell as it shined brighter the closer they got to a large boulder. Elion is in here. Uncle pointed to the boulder. Uncle, you sure your spell thing isn't expired, cause that's a boulder. Irma pointed out. Blanc took a second to sniff the boulder. Blanc smell Elion, and scary orange men from room. They in there. He pointed to the boulder. I've heard stories about Phobos having an underground bunker. Caleb said. Toru, help me move this. I don't think that's really necessary. Toru said. Cornelia, I think this is your element. Why thank you, Toru. Cornelia smiled. At least someone knows how to be a gentleman. She sent that snarky remark in Caleb's direction. Ooh, burn. Alchemy smirked as Caleb grumbled. Cornelia walked toward the boulder and need only trace her finger down the middle of its surface, channeling her earth magic into it as a crack formed from where she dragged her finger before she stopped and the entire boulder broke in half, revealing the entranceway to said bunker. Once they got a good look, the group could see a series of tunnels that led in virtually every direction. It's like a maze down there. Will said. Maze not important. Uncle stated. Locator spell is. It will lead us to real Elion. Perhaps, but we're too big of a group. Jackie said. Uncle, may I see that picture? Uncle handed Jackie the picture, which Jackie folded into 4 ways before tearing it into 4 even-sized pieces of paper, all of which continued to glow. We'll split into 4 groups of 3. Will, Jade, and myself, Cornelia, Caleb, and Alchemy, Heilin, Toru, and Blanc, Irma, Terani, and Uncle. We'll look for 5 minutes before meeting back up here. We have no idea what's down there. Everyone nodded in agreement as they all went down into the bunker and split off into their respective groups to go in 4 different directions. Toru held one piece of the locator spell as he tried to guide the way for Heilin and Blanc, but he quickly pushed them back around the corner to avoid being spotted by a group of patrolling Lurdans. 2 guards slept, while somehow standing up, around one corner of the tunnels. However, a pair of hands came up to squeeze them at their respective shoulder-neck areas, causing them to fall unconscious, courtesy of Uncle. The Elder Kai wizard held one piece of the locator spell as well as he led Irma and Terani further into the tunnels. Jackie held another quarter of the locator spell as he led Will and Jade down a tunnel that appeared lined with priceless portraits and treasures. Looks like we found Phobos' treasure vault. Will commented. Let's keep looking. Jackie told them. However, Jade came to a sudden stop as she felt a chill down her spine. Guys, I think I have the willies. Before either Jackie or Will could ask what she was talking about, the eyes on one of the portrait moved toward Jade before Tarakudo himself phased out of the portrait to reveal himself. Welcome back. Tarakudo greeted the shocked trio. Why don't we shake things up a little bit? He then generated a powerful psychic blast to send all 3 of them flying. Cornelia, who held the last quarter of the locator spell, led Alchemy and Caleb into a certain chamber that served as some kind of bedroom for someone of royal standings. This looks like a good place to put a princess. Alchemy observed. Cornelia took a look at the locator spell. I don't know exactly how this works, but I think Elion might have been here recently. Meaning she might be somewhere else. Let's keep looking. Caleb was about to leave when Alchemy noticed something on the desk. Hey guys, look. She pointed to something familiar that she and Cornelia both recognized, prompting them to run quickly toward the desk, with Caleb close behind. It's her sketchbook. Cornelia exclaimed as she saw the torn picture in the sketchbook. She brought her quarter piece of the torn paper serving as the locator spell close to the torn picture and realized she had one piece of said picture. However, a sudden horn noise sounded throughout the entire cavern, startling Cornelia and Alchemy. They know we're here. Caleb exclaimed. "Let's get out of here." But before they could move back up the stairs, a group of soldiers and Lurdans had entered the room and approached the trio. "Hold on." Cornelia grabbed both Caleb and Alchemy and flew upward toward the ceiling, while using her earth powers to create a large enough opening for them to fly into and escape. Though it wasn't big enough for them to fly, they were still able to climb back up to the surface. Cornelia came first as she helped Alchemy before pulling up Caleb next. But, once she pulled him up, the two suddenly realized just how close they were to one another as they ended up staring into each other's eyes. Guys, I hate to interrupt the moment, but we got company." Alchemy brought them out of their short-lived fantasy as they noticed they were quickly surrounded by Cedric, Daolan Wang, and a large group of guards and Lurdans. "Leaving so soon?" Cedric hissed. However, before the bad guys could attack, a series of Kai blasts, fireballs, gusts of wind, and steams of water shot down from the hill behind them as Terani, Irma, and Hei Lin flew down, with Uncle and Toru running below them, and Blanc sliding down the hill. The four guardians got to work blasting away all the guards and Lurdans as Toru leapt at Cedric and tackled him down the hill, crashing the shapeshifter into a large rock near the bottom of the hill. Uncle shot a series of Kai blasts at Daolan Wang with his blowfish, who erected a barrier of dark magic to block the attacks as returned fire with his own dark Kai blasts. "Thanks guys." Alchemy regrouped with everyone. "Hey, where's, well, Jade, and Jackie?" Cornelia questioned upon seeing who was missing from their group. Almost in direct response to her question, a powerful blast erupted from the ground on the other side of the hill as the aforementioned trio was sent flying out before sliding on the snowy ground as Tarakudo appeared in the air to snarl at them. However, before the Oni King could attack, his attention was caught by a series of fire blasts from Terani who tried to throw her attacks at him, but Tarakudo caught the fireballs with his psychic powers before throwing them at both Terani and Cornelia to send them back. Hei Lin and Irma also tried to provide some help as the latter shot a powerful surge of water to try and encompass Tarakudo right as Hei Lin inhaled to send a cold stream of air from her mouth in an attempt to freeze Tarakudo. However, he erected barrier with his own powers to block the attack and create a wall of ice in front of him before he broke it apart into several smaller chunks and sent them flying at the pair of guardians, who found themselves unable to avoid it as they were hit and sent crashing into the recovering Cornelia and Terani. "Guys!" Jade exclaimed as she saw her friends hurt. Toru, Uncle, Caleb, Blanc, and Alchemy also saw what was happening and wanted to provide help, but they were each stuck in their own predicaments. Toru was locked in another brawl against Cedric, Uncle was still engaged in a wizard duel against Daolan Wang, and Caleb was using his katana to block and parry the weapon strikes of the small army of guards, doing his best to protect Alchemy and Blanc. Jackie tried to reach into his coat pocket and pull out an onion, but Tarakudo had already grabbed him with his powers and slammed him into the incoming wall before pinning both of them hard onto a large rock, much to Jade's shock as she heard them groan in pain. "Out of all my new enemies, you two have been the most persistent," Tarakudo commented as he used his powers to pry a series of icicles from a nearby rocky ledge and aimed them at the trapped duo. "I think it's time to put an end to that, don't you?" He sent the icicles at them with the intent of skewering both of them. "No!" Jade screamed as she flew in front of them, instinctively using her powers in the form of a black wave of shadow that not only obliterate the icicles but even struck Tarakudo to send him crashing onto the ground, much to the shock of not just Jade, but also Will and Jackie, and everyone else, be they hero or villain. Did she just hurt Tarakudo?" Terani asked. "Her powers are like his, aren't they?" Hei Lin questioned. "You know, fight fire with fire. Or shadow with shadow." Irma smirked. Jade looked at her own hands as she had shadows pulsating in both her palms. She could actually hurt Tarakudo without an onion. This caused her to smirk almost evilly as she eyed the recovering Tarakudo. "Oh, I know that look." Will smirked as well, having a good idea what was about to happen next. Even Jackie had a smirk of his own. "I don't normally encourage violence but, go and kick his teeth in, Jade." With that, Jade flew straight for Tarakudo, shadows coating both her fists with her shadow magic as she decked him across the cheek to send him spiraling through the air. Jade pressed the advantage as she flew at him, laying multiple punches across his face before coating her right foot in the same way and delivering an axe kick in between his eyes to send him crashing to the ground. Tarakudo tried to recover as he launched a psychic wave at Jade, but she created a barrier of shadow magic in front of her to neutralize the attack before exploding the barrier in the form of similar shadow-like waves that hit Tarakudo and sent him skidding down the hill across the snow. "This is for brainwashing me," Jade exclaimed as the shadows around her hands began to take shape in the form of razor-sharp claws as she slashed at his face, causing Tarakudo to scream in agony before Jade kicked him into the air. "This is for trying to kill my friends and family." She dealt a powerful uppercut into Tarakudo's jaw to send him flying further up into the air. But Jade wasn't done yet as she threw out a cluster of shadows to completely encase Tarakudo in a sphere of shadow magic before attaching a tether of the same substance that she connected to her hands. "And this is for being so damn annoying." She used her own enhanced strength, combined with the gathered momentum she got as she flew back down to the surface as she swung the trapped Tarakudo like a makeshift weapon right into Cedric to send him crashing and rolling across the ground, smacking him into his soldiers before he fell on top of Daolan Wang. "Woo! Go Jade!" Hei Lin cheered. "Kick his butt!" Irma also exclaimed as the heroes began to regroup behind her. "Even though he doesn't have one." Alchemy also exclaimed. Cedric, Wang, Tarakudo, and all the guards and Lurdans groaned as they saw Jade hovering over them, glaring daggers at every single one of them. Wait, hold on sec. Tarakudo tried to plead with her as he hovered closer toward her. "You have such incredible power. Why waste it with them? Do you really think they can help you to master it? Come with me and I can help make you into something far greater than just a simple guardian." "Okay," Jade said simply, causing most of her friends to gasp. "Really?" Tarakudo asked with a hopeful smile. "Hell no," Jade quickly exclaimed. She then channeled her powers into all the shadows that she sensed around Cedric, Wang, and the guards and Lurdans before she actually controlled all the shadows and began to pull them from the ground, wrapping around all the villains as some of those shadows took the form of tendrils to ensnare Tarakudo and pull him back down to the villains before they were all encased in a massive sphere of shadow magic, which Jade lifted into the air with her own powers. "Enjoy the trip down," Jade exclaimed as she sent the sphere of shadows rolling down the mountain, all the villains inside screaming as it continued to roll and probably wouldn't stop till it reached the very bottom. Once it was out of sight, Jade fell to her knees in both exhaustion and satisfaction. That felt good. That was so awesome. Alchemy squealed as everyone came around Jade in celebratory fashion. "You kicked all their butts. Shadow powers for the win." Irma pumped her fist. "We won't be seeing them anytime soon." Terani smirked. "Shadow girl cool. Blunk like." Even Blunk hopped up and down in excitement. "Let's hear it for the newest guardian, Jade Chan." Hei Lin lifted Jade's hand into the air like one would do with a heavyweight boxing champion. "Yeah, not bad at all." Caleb nodded in approval. "Way to kick their teeth in, girl." Cornelia congratulated. "Magic has defeated magic." Even Uncle approved. "Great work, Jade." Toru put a hand on her shoulder. "See, what did I tell you?" Will reminded her friend as she smiled at her. Jade smiled back, even as she glanced toward Jackie as he smiled and gave a thumbs up of his own. "Thanks guys." Jade was more than happy to receive all their praise. "Come on, let's go home." "Wait, what about Elion?" Cornelia reminded everyone as she took out her piece of the locator spell, only to find it was no longer glowing. Toru, Uncle, and Jackie each brought out their own pieces to find they were not glowing either. "Spell has indicated that Elion is no longer here," Uncle assumed. "They must have moved her once the fighting started. Right under our noses," Jackie said in a minor scowl, causing Cornelia to look down in sadness. "I am sorry Cornelia," Jackie told her as he put a comforting hand on her shoulder. "I promise we will get Elion back." "Yeah, we will. All of us," Alchemy said as she wrapped her arms around Cornelia's right arm in support. "You still got us," Terani said in support. Yeah, me too." Even Caleb offered his support. "As long as you don't want to talk about makeup and, girly stuff." "Thanks everybody," Cornelia said to the group with a sad, yet appertained smile. "And hey, next time we see that jerk of a brother of hers, we'll both kick his teeth in." "Deal." Jade smirked as she offered her hand for a high five. Cornelia smirked back as she exchanged the high five with Jade. "Deal. Come on, let's go home." Jackie said as the group was about to head back through the portal, but as they began to leave, Cornelia paid one final glance toward the hole she made that led into the underground bunker. A little bit after everyone had left, Elion reappeared inside her room within her bunker, with Finn, Ratso, and Chow right by her side. "Looks like all the fighting's over," Chow said. "You know, we could have gotten your sketchbook for you," Ratso told the princess. Elion smiled at the trio. "Thanks guys, but I can handle it. It wouldn't have even been 2 minutes, just a quick in and out, you didn't have to come with me. We're your guards, so it's kinda our job," Finn replied. "Besides, don't wanna get on your brother's bad side. Yeah, you know how overprotective siblings get," Ratso added. "My sister was a handful when we were kids." "Well, it all comes from a good place," Elion said. "He might be a bit protective, but Phobos is sweet." The Dark Hand trio tried to hide their winces. They could all agree that Elion was a sweet kid and they felt bad lying to her like this, but given they were directly under Phobos' control, through Daolon Wang, they didn't necessarily have a choice. However, they noticed something odd from the nearby desk. "Why is the sketchbook glowing?" Chow asked as Elion looked in minor surprise to see faint green glow coming from her desk. Elion walked closer toward it, and the closer she walked, the brighter the glow was. She looked to see 4 smaller pieces of torn paper just below the larger torn piece in her sketchbook. Though she wasn't aware of it, it was apparent the locator spell was still active, and it appeared to have found the real Elion. She attempted to touch it, but the second she did, there was a bright flash as the entire torn sheet of paper was somehow mended into the single drawing of her best friend, Cornelia's face. This caused Elion to gasp slightly as she looked at herself in the mirror with an uncertain expression on her face. And it's the end of part 12 of this What If. I hope you guys like it. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel.